Hello and welcome.
Welcome back to HeroesCCL.
HeroesCCL.
To HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. My name is Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justin.
I am Doa. With me, as always, are Grubby and Bahamut.
And I am joined by Grubby and Justin.
Welcome. It's time, everybody. It's time to begin the regular season.
And we're back for another fantastic season of Heroes the Storm. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. My name's Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justin, and we are here in our playoff weekend, day number 1 of 3. Yes, we have 3 fantastic days of HeroesCCL action for all of you at home. And before we dive into everything that is HeroesCCL, let's dive into, well, what we've been all up to, because it's been a little bit of time here, Grubby and Justin. I'll start with you, Grubby. What have you been getting up to? What have you been playing, and how have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. It's good to be back here with you guys. It's been a long month without you, but I've tried to enjoy myself anyway, playing all kinds of different games. The usuals, of course, all the Blizzard classics, and a couple of outside of that as well. It's been good. Gaming has been a lot of fun.
I've actually been dabbling in some other stuff here and there, and one of the big things I've actually been having a lot of fun with is StarCraft 2 again. I've been playing the campaigns, and actually some friends have been sending me some replays of like some TVZ and some little friendly matchups, so I've been just doing some fun casting on the side of that, so it's been really fun to explore and branch out a bit. But of course, Justin, I'm sure you've been exploring and branching out in a lot of games that have been kind of popping up here and there.
Yeah, I've just been surviving the last month, literally playing the survivor type games, playing a bunch of zombie type stuff. Just doing my best to survive with the month of downtime, both in the real world and in game. So I'm excited that we're back to it.
It was too much downtime. I had beaten a ton of games, and I'm just like, I want to get back into CCL, and we're here into our playoff weekend, and I'm super excited to be joined by Grubby and Justin, of course, for this wonderful weekend. We have so many great games. We'll start to break down all the matches and stuff that you will see, and how we got to this point. But of course, let's go ahead and update you all on the prize pool, because the prize pool has been updated. As you can see, we are not having a LAN, to be blunt, so of course, 100%, not 60%, 100% of the prize pool will go to the players. Now, I also want to add this in as well. Wisdom will be contributing $10,000 at the end of the season. So let's say we end the playoff weekend at $20,000. Let's just say the total donations make it there. Wisdom will be adding in another $10,000 on top of it, so the prize pool could jump to $30,000 in this hypothetical. And this is the big thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to support these teams, as I mentioned, 100% of the prize pool goes to these teams. First place will take 35%. So, Grubby, you are a math wizard here. What would, let's say, 35% of $30,000 be for the first place team? Could I quiz you here at the top of the show potentially?
I'm gonna say 10,500 final answer.
Easy enough. Perfect. Thank you, Grubby, for the math that doesn't need to be checked at all. But of course, that is something that we did want to really, really hit on here and make sure you all understand that the players, 100% going to them, and another 10K will be added to the prize pool. If you'd like to donate towards the prize pool, push that up further, you can use !prize pool in chat to get you over to the Matcherino. But of course, Justin, we've had a lot of things happen, and it's been a long time, so can we take a look at the ladder bracket that did happen a few weeks ago at the start of July? And could you break down kind of what happened here in our ladder bracket weekend?
Yep, so in order to get our 4th member here into the playoffs, we had Granite go up against Simplicity, where Simplicity swept them 3-0. Storm then swept Simplicity in a 3-0. We had Chili Mountain and Storm Esports in a very close 3-2 match for Chili Mountain, but they were swept in the end by Diamond Hands. So Diamond Hands, the lone victor of the gauntlet, the 3-0 creature that came out. So they will be our 4th place team here. That's going to be the 4th seed going into the finals.
And actually, Grubby, we can jump over to the playoff bracket, as Justin was alluding to, Diamond Hands making it into this bracket. Can you break down what we'll see here in the upper bracket today?
Yeah, Diamond Hands making it in that 4th slot, beating everyone else in the ladder playoffs, means that they will go up against the number 1 ranked team from the round robin league. That's 30K with a amazing 7-0 record. They beat every single team so far in the league, and that makes them number 1. So they go up against the number 4. Our number 2 and 3 team are Oxygen and WildHeart. They'll be facing each other. Oxygen was 5-2, WildHeart was 4-3. It should be a really close match between them. On paper, 30k Diamond Hands should easily go towards 30k. But how much has the last month of practice availed every team? They can all have evolved in the meantime.
As we take a look at the day one schedule, I want to note a couple things here. You may have seen that the matches are kind of reversed based off reversed what you're seeing on the Liquipedia. That's because these teams did decide to swap their time slots for better play times for both teams. So we will start with Oxygen versus WildHeart Esports and 30k versus Diamond Hands. One quick note as well, while we're on that playoff bracket, if anyone did notice, that final matchup has a 1 score already. That's because the team that makes it through the upper bracket and does not drop into the lower bracket throughout the playoff weekend will have a 1-game advantage in the best of 7 grand final. So it's a weighted best of 7. Just a little note for all of you at home, if you did see that or if you are curious, that is how the grand finals will work out on Sunday. But of course, we are here today talking about Oxygen Esports versus WildHeart, and then later on 30k versus Diamond Hands. And before we jump into these rosters, I want to talk about some amazing sponsors here. Well, and let's talk about Next Level Gaming. Are you guys looking for more Heroes of the Storm action after Season 4 is over? It's our wonderful friends at Next Level Gaming and the Nexus Revitalization Project. I can't say the word today. I practiced it off stream. Thank you so much. My brain can't say it. I apologize. So, they're going to be hosting the Heroes International, featuring the 8 best teams from all over the world competing for a world champion of HoTS. This October 14th through 16th, the top 3 teams from North America, the top 3 teams from Europe, and the top 2 teams from Korea will meet at a LAN Finals showdown in Miami, Florida. For more information, use !international in chat to get you over there. Man, I don't know why I couldn't say that word, Grubby, but it just eludes me in that moment. But
I can't say adrenaline properly half the time. There's
you
always
said
like
it perfectly
one.
there. You nailed it.
This time. Oh, I can't say it in Dutch. Well, Dutch is a weird language.
There we go. Okay, so there's the little difference. But let's also talk about, well, let's talk about HeroesCCL Fantasy, because it's back, thankfully, to Ball Street. We've partnered with Ball Street to bring you CCL Markets.com. It's a free pick'em game that lets you choose CCL winners in real time as you watch the action. Simply buy shares of the team you think is going to win the matchup and sell shares of the team you think is going to lose. The best part, you can change your mind at any time because the market, Justing,
is always open.
You did! Buy and sell shares all match long to get a better score. Every night, the top traders on CCL Markets will win prizes, and you can compete all season long. Join CCLMarkets.com and win prizes as you watch today's broadcast. Thank you so much once again to Ball Street and Next Level Gaming for joining us for HeroesCCL Season 4. But let's go ahead and, well, usually we just talk about the rosters. Let's actually look and see what some of these rosters have to say about today's matchup. Let's go ahead and look at Oxygen.
Cool.
Our team prepared by playing Masters Clash in Europe, actually. We traveled to Paris together as a team. We played against the finest teams in Europe and, ultimately actually won the whole thing. I like the most about our team that everyone is very confident in his own role. Benny doing like crazy flanks on the main tank position, coming from every angle that you can imagine. Having Yasu being absolutely insane on some of the supports, especially Lucio. Copenhagen very strong on the offlane, and then we have the wildcard Nick. Always comes up with something surprising in terms of draft and in terms of what he thinks right now is the hero that could redefine the meta. And that's why it feels so good to play with the boys.
There's a horn. And we got the Oxygen roster right here. Grubby, if you could break this down for everyone at home.
Dude, Bad Penny, HaZuOps, Copenhagen, Nick Yasu. Such a good team. I mean, HaZuOps is amazing on Hanzo and Sergeant Hammer, Lunara. You've got Bad Penny. I love him on Varian. I love him on Diablo and Nubarak, and especially Muradin. And Copenhagen just invincible in the offlane, really. Like, how this team lost any games at all, I don't know. Because this is an extremely strong team. Nick, kind of a special weapon. He plays the weird heroes. Imperious. I saw him recently in a game. He went for Garrosh as the flex. Ooh. So they already had a tank. They had a tanky offlane, and then he went for Garrosh. Like, what's going on? And he had like 55k hero damage. This guy plays weird heroes and makes them work. Yasu, just insane, especially on Lucio, but really solid all-around roster.
And Cascon, of course, the drafter for Oxygen, who has really been helping them out with these, well, to literally say quite amazing drafts that we've seen throughout the season. Of course, we had these interviews from all the teams, so of course, let's go ahead and jump over to WildHeart and hear what Weary Day had to say as well.
Our team is very much focused on improving and fine-tuning our play, but at the same time, we're also keeping it loose. We've got a great group of guys, and not just the players, but also everyone else involved. It's probably not controversial to say 30k is the team to be at this point, so it'll be a very exciting challenge if we get the chance to try to take them down.
And we're taking a look here at the WildHeart roster, Justing, something you know a little bit about.
Yep, as a former WildHeart player, I've got a bit of experience playing with these people. We have Haben, the tank player for the team, the Korean player of the team. There's a bit of a language barrier, but his engages make up for it. We see the way he anchors. He's just kind of putting on a clinic in the tank role. IB Tings, the unsung hero of the team with the range damage, and we hear it in the comms all the time. He went from being not even having a microphone to being almost the dominant voice we hear when we come into comms. You have Mason Blaze, just always solid on the ranged heroes, one of the best we have in the entire league. Weary Day, the support, very good at things like Uther, just has a lot of niche healers that he excels at. He's the best at saving people out of any of the supports in my opinion. And Zergling, the off lane, the solid rock of the team, the overall macro shot caller and team leader. And then Roger, we saw in 1 week stomp when he came in from the sub position. So not a weak sub to have. So WildHeart, a really strong team, really making an upset this season, making it here into the finals.
It's going to be an exciting matchup for sure. We've got Oxygen Esports going up against WildHeart Esports, and these are going to be two titans of teams that are really going to be brawling out, and I'm super, super excited about this matchup. We're going to be getting into this in just a moment. We've gotten through all of our rosters and all that kind of good stuff, so I'm really, really excited to see where we'll head to for map number 1 in this best of 5 series. Yes, to make sure also you all know, all the series, except for the grand finals, will all be best of 5s. That grand finals, as I mentioned earlier, will be a weighted best of 7. So, as we're getting things ready for our lobby, we can actually take a look at what map we're going to here for our first map and our first best of 5 of the day. And to get you all updated as to how we got to Sky Temple, chosen by the members of WildHeart Esports, Oxygen Esports will be opting for first pick priority, banning out Battlefield of Eternity, WildHeart Esports banning out Garden of Terror. Now, little fun fact, I was looking at Oxygen stats before this, Justing, and Oxygen hasn't played a single Battlefield or Infernal Shrines game. Either I missed a note somewhere for myself, but literally 2 of the most competitive maps I feel like we have in CCL, being Battlefield and Infernal, not played at all by Oxygen? That's kind of crazy to me.
It's wild. That's some of my favorite maps too, so it's a shame that we don't get to see that more from them, but I would expect WildHeart, having done their homework, having a lot of time to prepare for this match, is going to be at a later point looking to exploit that, and the expectation then would be that WildHeart will bring them to Infernal Shrines at some point in the series, unless they just sweep them without, ever having the option to have the map pick if the other team were to pick it. So yeah, I'm hoping that we get to see that change, and it is weird to see that priority. The map priority just in general has really gravitated a lot more towards these large maps, it seemed. Things like Sky Temple, Garden of Terror, which got voted in this season, just as every team's favorite map apparently. Things like Alteric as well. Just these large maps, the macro-focused maps, really seem to be the priority for most of the teams in this season.
And Grubby, just to mention to you, to Justing as well, of course, but Sky Temple, Oxygen, they are winless on this map, a singular loss. The members of WildHeart Esports actually 3-3 on this map with a 50% victory. So pretty good stats, pretty good data for WildHeart here, or I guess kind of good data for Oxygen, as there's so much for them to pull from a Sky Temple previous map and draft.
Yeah, information is super helpful, but it has been a month, and generally it takes a team about 2 weeks, I would say, to change themselves. My experience in esports kind of says that like in a week you can't do much, but in 2 weeks, and it's been more than that. So it really depends. Have they been able to find practice? Have they been able to use the information that would be known about them and then use that against their opponents? That's the question, and we'll see how that goes. In the previous match, Oxygen had a better score in the group stage, but they did lose directly to WildHeart, 3-1. One of the 2 teams they lost to, 30k and WildHeart. So this is going to be a bit of a revenge match for Oxygen as well. Despite having the better record, WildHeart was able to the best then. Pretty interesting.
Gonna get our first ban coming out here, a Diablo ban. I was actually looking earlier. I was talking with one of my friends, and he saw my stat sheets while I was getting ready today, and he's just like, "What does even any of this mean?" I was pointing. I was like, "Well, you can see Junkrat's been banned out by every single team so much," and I'm a little surprised here, Justin. No Junkrat ban just yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. Junkrat and Lucio had been kind of the main priority 2 picks that had to be banned from second pick throughout most of the regular season. But now we're seeing a little bit more specialized bans because it is the playoffs. They have so much information on each other by now from seeing each other play, scrimming against each other. And so it looks like it's a bit of a tank choke coming out from Oxygen. That does mean that, okay, so they take the Johanna, so expectation is for WildHeart to likely pick up a Murden and maybe feel pressured to pick the tank a little bit earlier than they would normally want. There's the Murden paired with the Brightwing. WildHeart, I think they'll be happy with this. I don't think that those bans in particular are really going to affect them. I think it'll be more whether Oxygen can kind of choke them out of solid offlane picks that they may want with the second bans.
And when we look back at previous weeks, Grubby, of Haben's Murden, he's just constantly sitting in bushes, dwarf tossing in, looking for those flanks and setting up. With the Brightwing maneuverability and blink heals and polymorphs, this is a great 1-2 punch from WildHeart to kick things off.
Yeah, nothing wrong at all with those first 2 picks. Even though Oxygen definitely, that's a heavy front line. Holy crap. Double offlane, on Sky Temple, I do like it. You need to clear the top lane, you need to clear that bruiser camp when the opponent sends that your way. And then Hogger can still be taking siege camp or taking like the bottom lane, or maybe Blaze is defending the lane and then Hogger is taking the bruiser camp and the siege camp. It offers a lot of flexibility, but we see more of that triple front line. That's what I was talking about. Like Nick, he will double up as a triple front line, be it with Imperius or something else that can deal damage. And it's interesting. I don't believe this would be very expected for WildHeart.
I do like the synergy also of just what Oxygen's put together here. You don't have to go Blessed Shield at level 10 for Joanna, but if you do, you have a Jet Propulsion, Blessed Shield, you've got my assumption is going to be a Shockwave from Hogger, and then you also have Staggering Blow from Hogger, you've got Condemns from Joanna, so this is already a really, really... Like, the lockdown burst ability is really good for Oxygen. We just have to figure out what hero they're going to burst with, as we have a Yrel Sylvanas coming out from the side of WildHeart here, Justin.
Yeah, really interesting. I was saying that Oxygen might look to do kind of an offlane choke, which they did by taking the Blaze and the Hogger, which is not a normal thing to do. But then because of their melee-heavy composition, they felt like the Leoric was what they needed to ban. The expectation would be for WildHeart to have taken the Dahaka. That's kind of the obvious third choice. But I think Oxygen maybe thinks that into their composition, they don't care that much against something to be against something like a Dahaka that doesn't have a lot of damage. And then for WildHeart with Zergling to just take the URL anyways, I think WildHeart's very, very happy with this draft so far. I think the main thing is going to be what they're able to pick with their last pick to punish the composition of Oxygen that is basically a solo hyper carry Grey main. The Hogger is the only other real damage threat on the team right now, and it will be the Falstad, so they're going to be looking to go relatively standard, double ranged. I like that because it's WildHeart. WildHeart is the team that, in my opinion, has the strongest duo of ranged just players. They have Ivy Tings and Mason Blaze, which are just, in my opinion, as a duo, by far the strongest 2 ranged players that you can put together. They peel for each other with damage, and into all these melee characters, I think that these are 2 ranged players that actually have the mechanics and the just ability to be able to kind of just dance around the opponents. I don't think there's enough hard lockdown for Oxygen to be able to lock down a Sylvanas and a Falstad, and that constant damage threat is going to be going up against something like a Greymane, which is not going to even come close to matching the amount of sustained damage that a Sylvanas plus Falstad can deal. And Nick on the Hogger, well, I do really like the Blaze-Hogger combo. I think it might be somewhat difficult for him to really get in range to get value. So it'll be interesting to see what Oxygen does to really force engages, because Oxygen needs to force fights. They absolutely need to be the one that engages first. And WildHeart, they just want to play slow fights, they want to play to disengage, and they want to just pick people off one at a time and chip away at them.
Well, thank you, Justin. As always, the way you elucidate these drafts are always so just, well, to use the word itself, very clear for us. So thank you so much for your breakdown, your analysis. We'll see you after map number 1 here on Sky Temple, because on the left-hand side, we have Oxygen Esports. Yasu on the Rhaegar, Bad Benny playing the Joanna, Copen on the Blaze, Hazuabs playing the Greymane, and Nick on the Hogger. Over on the side of WildHeart Esports, we are going to be seeing Zergling on the Yrel, Ibitings on the Falstad, Mason Blaze on the Sylvanas, Haben on the Murden, and Weary Day to play the Brightwing. I feel like Oxygen Esports can take this. It's going to be a little difficult. The hyper carry on the Greymane is really going to have to show through, of course, Grubby, but want to get your thoughts as well on the draft, as we haven't heard from you in a little bit here while we have this top lane push.
It's just really interesting drafting here from Oxygen, going with the 5 melee and the full tank and support, the full tank and offlane choke attempt. But I agree with Justin that if you're able to get a Yrel as a team that loves to play her, then you're not really too worried about that at all. There's teams that play Yrel, and there's teams that don't, and WildHeart is one of the ones that does. So Oxygen, they must have known that, and they must have said, we don't think Yrel is as good as all these other ones we both picked and denied. And I think that's really interesting. So Hibin misses the Stormbolt, but in comes Yrel with the jump, with the Righteous Hammer, and Yasuo on Rhaegar goes down to the final auto attack of Mason Blaze. First blood.
First blood, Mason Blaze, that singular auto, the fadeaway shot will get that right there. And I was sitting here thinking like, oh, well, you know, that's auto attack based Falstead. You've got a lot of auto attack value from the Sylvanas as well. So blinds from from the Johanna with the Shield Glare and the Zealous at level 1 is going to be huge. But either way, Polymorph is going to stop Bad Benny from finding much value. The Shield Glare does nothing.
The Shield Glare does nothing. The goggles. That's the second,
not sing.
It's the second kill for WildHeart here. They came in with an invade. Every single member of the team, they have the double global, mind you. And they knew that Rhaegar isn't here yet. Oxygen was going through the basic repetitions, the routine stuff. This is when we take Siege Camp. But they did the big fight for the Watchtower. It didn't pan out, and they still wanted to do everything on routine. And they paid for it. They lost their own Siege Camp. WildHeart takes it. Now, Siege Camp, it immediately gets cleared. Doesn't get any siege damage. But it's still worth about 300 points of experience that you've now taken away. That's a 600 XP shift. By the way, the teams have gotten about 8,000 XP so far. So you can see, hey, that's more than 5% XP already stolen away. And that's quite useful. So you're going to have like these little breaking points where WildHeart reaches a crucial talent level a bit quicker. That may be important. 2 kills, the siege counts, they may get level 7 first. But on the other hand, Oxygen, they did a little bit of a push stop with the Bruiser Cap, and they took down 1 tower as well, which is more than WildHeart did with their early game cheese.
I'm looking at IB in bottom lane. Okay, that's going to be just a tap onto the well. Wasn't sure if that was going to be a Hearth out to get full on mana and stuff. Zergling pressured a little bit in mid lane, but that is a Dauntless Yrel, so that physical armor helping out a ton. Now, we're in our first objective phase. First and second of Sky Temple is always standardized in the sense of top and mid, and then the second objective phase always being a singular in the bottom. Top lane shots are going to be amplified by the siege of this Bruiser camp, and this might be the fort to go down if Brightwing can stay on the point, and it seems like Oxygen Esports is fine with trading, but Zergling and Haven, they're over here to harass and delay things out. As long as Zergling kind of keeps a toe on this point, he can deny shots, but did he stay too long? It's Yrel. She's got buttons, it's level 4, actually it's level 7, and going to be going into the Righteous Momentum as well, so you have the movement speed while you are charging up your Righteous Hammer.
Okay. Doesn't go for the Divine Steed insta-mount. Doesn't get the Avenging Wrath resets if you do a full Avenging Wrath. And Yrel gets attacked. Brightwing comes in, gets the Pixie Dust and the Phase Shift. Yrel somehow still finding the confidence to step forward. Abin, he's the safest on this team. Does get staggering bloat there into a wall.
Jet Propulsion from Blaze was maybe eaten by a Polymorph or something. I heard the windup, but no actual connection. Either way, we do see the mid lane shots gained by the side of Oxygen Esports, and this will be back into our laning phase. We have fall set up against the Blaze in the top lane. As I mentioned earlier, that top lane fort did fall in favor for Oxygen, or excuse me, in the favor of WildHeart Esports, and it's just Oxygen trying to kind of put the pieces back together here. This map is starting to fall apart. You mentioned earlier, Grubby, about minimal or small experience gains. We can see it right here. It's half a level lead has been gained by WildHeart Esports, and Oxygen Esports, they want to try and make something happen here, but it's not working out. A fantastic Soothing Mist from Weary Day mitigates the incoming CC.
Yeah, that was insane. That Jet Propulsion did not even stun for a microsecond. That's how good that was. Meanwhile, double global.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like WildHeart has had the read onto every single one of Blaze's or Copenhagen's Jet Propulsions. In the last couple minutes we've been watching them all brawl, it just feels that way every time Blaze tries to make that Jet Propulsion happen. It's denied by something. Soothing Mist, Polymorph, or maybe even a Stormbolt from Muradin.
Yep, I think you're right, and WildHeart, they look pretty fine in team fights, but finally Oxygen has got a little some. We had Greymane, Hansel pushing down the mid fort. Now, with a team like this, with Greymane, let's talk a little bit about Greymane. He's the only assassin class hero on Oxygen's side. Greymane does best when things are handed to him on a silver platter. Maybe some rich people's children, and they're like, yeah, I work the same way. No, but the point is, he doesn't trade well. He likes to be part of a cursed bullet blow-up composition. He generally doesn't like attacking for 10 seconds and being attacked for 10 seconds. So he's part of a burst comp, but there you see that cursed bullet, and that's going to be the key. It's going to be pretty hard. Like, both Yrel and Muradin have ways to free themselves with the Absorbent Defender, with the Avatar, so those are going to be hard to blow up. Then there is the Mighty Gust from Falstad that was apparently used in the off lane to save himself. Yeah. And there hasn't been all that much side pressure yet, which Greymane loves to do. Generally in a 1v0, 2v1, 3v0. That's how Greymane excels. He's getting massive damage on the side lane that's not being defended. So long as WildHeart defends well, I think Greymane is going to struggle to make an impact. I think WildHeart is going to look good. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Do you actually want to hear from Oxygen? Jump into their comms?
Yeah, let's do it.
In we go.
Oh, fuck. I have no ult. You should try to get out.
Running Yrel and bunker. Bunker.
I might need an SS.
I need it.
Under bunker.
Oh my god. Got nothing now, Nick needs help. Oh, we got a lot of shots.
We're gifting.
I go soak, I think.
Yeah,
We give the last few shots.
Hard camp is up.
Maybe they manually push though.
I'm staying around.
Yeah, we're
We
still
can do the
healing.
hard together.
They can disable, so like stay top side with Trigger. Muradin's gonna jump. Probably. I guess it just dies.
See me top now.
Maybe mid wall. We see two.
I wanna clear and get our hards out. I don't wanna.
Okay.
I wanna fix waves.
I'll get waves then. I have
We get
flying
Sylvan
15.
hards then.
Yep.
I'm running up. I'm gonna watch boss.
Oh, play me bottom.
I'm coming up to speed you up. Oh. We have to clear soon.
They're doing their easies right now with Greymane. Can we clear?
Fight the Blizz a little bit.
And we got to hear from both of those teams right there really quickly. Thought it'd be a good moment to hear how WildHeart was going to be playing that little second half of the objective phase. You heard Zerglin talking about watching the boss and stuff like that. Overall, good macro from both teams, though I do feel like when we were in those Oxygen comms, it felt... I could almost like feel the tension and the pressure from the execution that has to come from Oxygen's composition here.
Yeah. Oh, Yrel!
Good mind
Yrel
control.
got one shot! He couldn't even press Absorbent Defender! This may be an opportunity to try to go for the boss. Right now, Oxygen is forcing Avatar. They're gonna see if they can get Muradin as well, but with the Pixie Dust and the phase shift coming in, they knew that's the end of that. But they've got Avatar, they've got Yrel. They're choosing not to go for the boss here, Bahamut, because Mighty Gust exists, and because boss would just about get Fort. You can just attack Fort in a vanilla attack like this.
Yeah.
You've already got double siege camp, and if you take boss and you send and forget, enemy team's gonna defend it. It may not even get the fort. So there's definitely a big overemphasis on boss for many players and many teams that Oxygen very wisely ignores.
I mentioned there was a gust onto Blaze, and I look at Falstad's health. That's the second time Blaze has actually forced a gust out from Falstad because of Blaze's his damage is looking really good. I mean, he's got the Adrenal Stim Pack from level 1. Also, keep in mind, he's got that Collision Course from level 13. That's 470 damage on top of the already big, this is a big one here, 90 damage. Mind Control, though, will connect onto Bad Benny. Pops the Iron Skin, Big Condemn onto 2 players. Bless Shield into the face of Mason Blaze, who has the Haunting Wave, and can't actually get the activation onto it. That will be another kill to the side of Oxygen, who find parity in kills, 2-2 in kills. We have a little contention over this bottom lane. Now, if we jump into top lane, actually, there is a Blaze 2v1ing, and he'll have to drop down the bunker. Gust is up right now if Falstad wants to angle this. We currently have so many little fights breaking out around the map. Thank you so much, Buds, for catching all of this, as we have Copen trying to back away. We have a Hortipult in from Hogger as well. Bad Benny going to try and pull in Zergling, but can't make it happen. Falstad, though, in the top lane, Brightwing has left to go do do something else. And now Ibitings has to barrel roll away. The Gust is available, but it won't be forced as Yasu chases onto Zergling. Greymane those on the other side, but he has to back away because Haben, full HP, is right behind that Yrel.
Meanwhile, the Blaze 1v2 against Falstad and Brightwing continues. I think this is the first time I've ever in CCL seen 3 fights happening over the course of more than 15 seconds and having an observer catch it all. Amazing.
I feel like we're like Dota 2 and League of Legends casters, because there's actually it's not just everyone grouped up in a lane and fighting. It's just like there's so many different things happening. But this is still a really, really good back and forth. We'll see trades onto the temples between the two teams, and top lane Keep front gate going to be taking some damage. Same thing in bottom lane, and the map between the two teams, it's equal in structures, equal in kills, and equal in levels. This is a very, very close game number 1 between these two teams, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I wonder who has better level 20s. On the one hand, you've got the non-stop fishing from Sylvanas. Maybe she even goes Blink. And you've got Falstad with the wind tunnel, which could be insane when well positioned. There's so many strong level 20s. We're headed towards that. Oh, Muradin, CC'd. Gus to save him. Very safe. An abundance of caution from Ibitings.
And also, that Gust does kind of help out Oxygen, because it pushed the 2 Siege Giants into an area where Oxygen can safely clear them out. And so, Gust burned, Camp grabbed, and I think there might have also been a Bless Shield. Yeah, there was a Bless Shield somewhere in there as well, as I'm looking at the cooldown. Very, very similar to the Gust from Falstad. And going back to talking about 20s, I mean, also, Yrel's level 20. I mean, it's like, when you factor in cooldown and activation time, it's like, what, a 10-second cooldown for a self-cleanse? It's absolutely bonkers what Yrel can get. But we also, we have the Farseer's Blessing. You've got, I'm assuming it's going to be Blinded by the Light for the Johanna for the shielding for the allies. You've got maybe the Fortified Bunker from Blaze. Greymane, I'm assuming Blunderbuss, and Hogger, I actually don't know. Maybe No Control. I think No Control if he's going Hortipult right now. He's also got the level 13, that Pummel, which will help out a lot for the spell power reduction. But now, we have a potential boss here as a double temple phase pops up.
I personally think No Control is super risky in this comp. Both Falstad and Sylvanas can absolutely blast you, even when you're getting attacked by the No Control. Big jet propulsion! Brightwing becomes a new target, but he manages to blink away and save himself. Weary Day gave the escape to Muradin. Does he still have another blink? Yes, he does. Amazingly played by Weary Day. He's able to save his front line and himself. Furious assault by Oxygen that used Curse Bullets and Bless Shield. And for WildHeart, they only used Mind Control, so it's actually a little bit of a win that disengage for WildHeart.
I was gonna say, is this greedy from Oxygen as I was watching Bad Benny split into the bottom lane, but I think this is actually the right call from Oxygen. Bottom lane Temple will prioritize bottom lane Keep. Bottom lane is where the boss and double siege giant camps are, so this is, in my opinion, the better lane to be sieging through. As you can actually see Greymane, he's going to be pushing up the wave a little bit, trying to get rid of those catapults, also pulling in some experience for his allies, and this is a guaranteed bottom lane Keep to fall. Mid lane Keep on the side of Oxygen, we're going to see the gate go down and some shots onto it, but that won't be enough to actually take down the structure. So now, bottom lane, consistent catapults into that WildHeart Esports lane. This is exciting stuff here, Grubby. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very, very close game. Some early game experience has already been mitigated by late game kills.
Yeah, Midkeep got hurt quite a bit, but indeed, no catapults, no XP generation just yet. So small little lead for Oxygen. And they've kind of been winning the second half of the game slowly by little. They had some deficit to come back from. And I really wouldn't have said it. I think this is a weird comp and draft that I didn't think would work that well against what WildHeart has, but Oxygen in a little bit of a lead. But it could still go either way. The coin could flip either direction. They're gonna go for Muradin now with the Cursed Bullet. Before the boss comes out, they want to get a kill.
Johanna's on the point. Iron Skin will be used. Hogger with the big bounce on the point. He's actually not going to cancel it out. Will he stay on the point? No, he doesn't cancel that out. That was a little risky to just give this boss away, but either way, Nick is so very low, has to get out of here. A very low Muradin below us as well. Zergling is isolated. He was looking at Nick, and now he gets hit with the Jet Propulsion. Ardent Defender on a 100-second cooldown. Now, boss has to be cleared out by Oxygen Esports. I don't think they can go and end the game. They got to play this still. There's still some macro to be had from Oxygen, and still life in the series, or life in this map, from WildHeart Esports.
Yeah, Oxygen at some point, when they realized that Ironskin and Hogwild were not going to be able to get the boss, Hogger didn't choose to cancel the Hogwild. They decided, we'll absorb the boss and try to get some kills. And they kind of got paid off, just because I feel like Zergling wasn't 100% on the same page. He went back in when really he couldn't and shouldn't have. And now, after all was said and done though, Foss didn't do that much. Killed a little bit of a wall. Yatu gets threatened.
We actually have the Radiating Faith for the Joanna at level 20, which was already used. You can see it's on a 50-second cooldown. It doesn't give any cooldown reduction, but what it does do is it has, I believe, more bounces and a longer stun duration, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll have the Yrel back up. She does have, as I mentioned, the Seraphim, which actually I was incorrect. I said 10 seconds, which is what the cooldown is, but since it's active, it's 8 seconds, which is insanity to me. Rewind for the Murden's huge. Hogger is holding 20. Greymane did go blunderbuss as we expected. I wonder, okay, it is the no control for the Hogger. Let's see how this fight works out. Mind control does come out, but eaten by the Iron Skin.
Bless Shield not available yet. It has a 2-second stun duration now and 4 bounces total, 4 targets. Like you said, 8 seconds still. Oxygen should feel very fortunate that they're getting this many charges while Janna doesn't have the... Oh my god, they just blew up Falstad on the side!
I blinked for a second. I was looking at Murden popping Avatar and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden I see a death of Falstad. Blinds from Joanna. And she didn't even use the Blessed Shield to set up that kill. Oh wait, there's the no control. That's a Blessed Shield onto Murden. That's a double, triple kill in totality. And I think right here, Oxygen, they take a sidewall, or they just rush through mid right now, and they go core, end the game. This is enough to take map number 1. Mind control, once again, mitigated by a Iron Skin from the Joanna, and this is a Hortipult in. Ardent Defenders used. Not necessary to kill the Yrel. This is taking a little bit longer. Fall set up in 20 seconds, but I think Oxygen can still end within the next few seconds. Yasu, though, blocked by the tornadoes.
Yeah, that's Oxygen suddenly just turning it. I want to see that Falstad moment again. I'm actually looking at it in the live, because we're like 1 minute ahead, right? So everything's checked from below. He basically... Oh my god, wow. Falstad just got... He basically almost walked into the bush, got condemned, then punished by Joanna, slowed a bit, still decided not to barrel roll, really greedy, and then he just got Loot Horde, the Loot Horde into the staggering blow. Like, it's just a basic slow into a kind of telegraphed Hogger combo. So Hogger with the top damage, the true damage dealer here. Really big blunders, actually. Yrel dying at the boss by Zergling, and Ibeting's dying here at this final fight. Basically marked the end for WildHeart. Even though they were toe-and-toe, suddenly Oxygen capitalized. They got some kills that really, I feel like, shouldn't be happening at this stage anymore. But they did, and of course Oxygen should when they can. And they get those kills, and yeah, that ended the game.
Game number 1 over to the side of Oxygen Esports, and as we get Justing back in the mix, is Hogger the true assassin here, Justing?
In this situation, he is. He is the flex for the team. Hogger is a very, very powerful character. Like, he's definitely contesting outside of things that to me are just broken, like Medivh, that sort of changed the way everyone has to play. Outside of that type of thing, and like just his standard kit, I think Hogger does feel a little bit overtuned just in general. So if you can ever get him, I think you should take it. So I like seeing Oxygen, doing this, having the Nick play the Hogger as that 4-man. I think that's pretty good, and we saw how much value it got in the picks in the mid game. That game, though, it really felt like not how... It didn't finish the way that it felt like it was going to at the start. It really felt like WildHeart came in with a lot of momentum. They had a plan early. They cheesed the tower immediately. They were able to even transition that into a kill onto Rhaegar when they rotated to defend against them. It really felt like, when we went into the comms as well, that Oxygen comms kind of felt like they had a similar issue to something that we'd seen in the past, where it feels like they have 5 superstar players that don't really have a definitive leader that can kind of bring them all together. It feels like you have 5 people who could even be potentially the best in slot in each role, but their comms just feel a little bit weird. It doesn't feel like they're all always exactly on the same page. It's like kind of like what I worried about with 30k at the start of the season, with kind of maybe too many chefs in the kitchen sort of thing. And that's kind of what Oxygen feels like, but their just raw skill and mechanics in team fights seems to be just carrying them through it regardless, because WildHeart had better macro decisions for the most part through the early game. It felt like they really had a good plan, but then they get these moments like this where Zergling on the Yrel gets randomly picked mid, and Oxygen needs these types of things to be able to win this game, to be able to come back into the game after their early game deficits. And so it's a little bit just sloppy by WildHeart. I think part of that might be because they're focused so much on the macro. They're Like, Zergling was probably just staring at his minimap. He probably didn't even realize what was happening on his screen at the time because they're just so focused on playing that macro game. But Oxygen just always coming out ahead in these fights after the early game, after the mid game. WildHeart not able to get the value with their globals like they had hoped, and that final team fight really kind of decided it all. You had Ibitings getting just instantly deleted, getting crushed into the wall by the Hogger. The amount of damage, the burst that comes out from Hogger when you're in that range as a squishy ranged hero is just immense. It feels pretty brutal just dying within that CC. And they also had the Siege Giants pushing bottom, so WildHeart feeling pressured to fight there, not getting the macro advantage when they really needed it in the late game. And then Bad Benny again coming in with the flank with the Blessed Shield to seal the deal, getting those last 2 kills. It just feels like Oxygen is playing better individually and better in team fights, even though their communication sort of feels worse. It feels like WildHeart comes in with a plan, they know what they're doing, they have a good idea for their macro, but that doesn't mean anything if you can't execute in the team fights. You're gonna have to fight Oxygen, and right now it feels like Oxygen just stronger in those 5v5s and stronger in pretty much all the fights that happened throughout that game.
It was a little surprising at first because I had really kind of, as I mentioned, I was like, oh, I think Oxygen has this. I thought that they'd be able to have that chain CC throughout the game. And the early game, I was starting to get worried about my own prediction. Like, ooh, I don't know if I made the right call in this one. But Hazuab's definitely making me feel better about myself. But also, I got to say, like we've all been talking about it, Nick was the MVP of that last map. As we look forward into map number 2 and our first best of 5 of the day, we can continue our discussion about these 2 fantastic teams here in our playoff weekend as we have got Oxygen Esports taking us to Tomb of the Spider Queen. That means that the members, Grubby of WildHeart Esports, have opted in for first pick priority. Thoughts on Tomb for these 2 teams?
Tomb of the Spider Queen. I mean, I think it's a really classical map where wave clear is important. We may see more priority on Junkrat. Oxygen hit WildHeart with a really special draft here. Completely melee while also banning 3 melee. That is the kind of draft I like to see, draft plan I like to see. Even though I didn't believe in them. I didn't believe that their comp should be beating WildHeart's comp. And, you know, perhaps it shouldn't. Or perhaps it should, or maybe it was 50-50. But the point is, they had a plan. I like to see a plan for the playoffs. You've had the time to theory craft a lot. I would expect a similar plan here, to be honest. Not the same plan, but a similar level of planning.
So what you're saying is that the most necessary thing for a team to win here on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Yes, thank you. Okay, so you're one. It's almost like they need a hero that has 3 heads because that's us right now. We're all on the same page. But we're getting ready for Tomb of the Spider Queen. It is a rotation heavy base map, so we could see things like the Joanna. Any special sauce that you're kind of thinking about here, Justin, for either of these teams?
So I think if Oxygen is going to show the triple melee so early in the draft like they did in the last game, they should really be getting punished more from the side of WildHeart for doing so. There are a lot of things like Malthael. They banned the Leoric, so that's not an option, but things like Malthael, pretty much anything with spread damage, even like a Cassia. There's a lot of things that punish people for grouping like that and playing that kind of damage light composition. Even a double support composition with something like a Vala just dancing around the triple melee is really hard to deal with. Because typically those compositions are really burst focused and really CC heavy. They need to rely heavily on just chaining CC and comboing somebody. So they typically do pretty poorly into things that have damage reduction or have a bunch of armor and have a lot of sustain. So Oxygen's composition, while it worked in the last game, it worked mostly off the back of a couple of important picks they got. So I think in an actual 5v5, if WildHeart can draft something a little bit more for the 5v5, and not so much like they had the 2 globals, and maybe play to punish it, if Oxygen keeps going with the multiple melees, I think that can be countered a little bit better by WildHeart in the draft, especially on a map like Tomb, where there's a lot more ability to just move around as a unit.
I'm thinking back, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it WildHeart in the past who's been running a Nazebo on Tomb of the Spider Queen consistently? I feel like...
Yeah, they've played it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's been a team that's been running Nazebo pretty consistently on Tomb, so I'm wondering if they'll bring it out, but Grubby, that's that early Junkrat coming out from WildHeart.
My only wish in life is to see Nazebo, Zul, and Stukov combination one more time. Like, that was such a cool draft.
Oh, that was so cool, yeah.
Bone Prison.
That was Medivh too, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was... I remember looking at that draft and being like, this doesn't work, and then Justin was like, oh, you hold on with that opinion right there, and yeah, that really did work. That was Volskaya Foundry, I believe, last season. But Blaze Anduin, this is a pretty good start here, Grubby. You still want to get your thoughts on the early draft?
Yeah, Anduin Anduin can get 2 cleanses. That's going to help a little bit into Junkrat. For the rest, I don't know why it was taken that early. Maybe purely because of Junkrat. Maybe because... Yeah, maybe just because Junkrat wants to do like a massive CC combination with his team, generally paired up with like a Garrosh or a Stitches, or someone with really easy stuns like a Nubarak, so you can get like a mine behind them in a trap. I guess Leap of Faith really helps against that. I still find it an early priority. What do you think about that, Justin?
Yeah, I think it is mostly to counter something like a Stitches combo that you could see with Junkrat. Even though it's not the best, it does give you some ability to help counter like a Gorge combo or a Hook. It's weird to me to see the Anduin picked so heavily, so prioritized, because it feels like Anduin does great through the early part of the game, and this is probably his best map for that reason, because once you lose your forts, you have nowhere to retreat, because he kind of just has to stand still in team fights and just kind of be in one place, because he has to stand still to cast. It's not like other supports where like Lucio can be anywhere on the map and he's comfortable. I think WildHeart taking the Anubarak here though, had they wanted the Brightwing, which seems kind of obvious, might be a bit of a draft blunder coming out from WildHeart to prioritize the tank role so heavily. I think there's enough tank options, even something like a Garrosh available, and the threat of WildHeart picking a Stitches, I think had they taken the Brightwing would have warranted a ban in itself onto Stitches, so I think it's strange, and I'm not sure if WildHeart will get quite the same amount of value from their support pick that Oxygen will.
Quick question before we go on.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be an Imperius, Kerrigan, or a Genji or a Tracer coming out of Nick here?
It's likely either a Genji to punish the Junkrat or something like the Imperius, but they already have the Tychus, so they don't really need the percent damage.
It's easily murky, of course. It's easily murky. More stuns actually from WildHeart Esports. Mind Control. This is actually really stun forward composition from WildHeart Esports. I kind of still love Oxygen, what they built here. I'm gonna jump right back over to Justin because we're gonna get this last pick coming out, and I do want your thoughts as we are gonna be starting to load into our second map here, Tomb of Spider Queen. I actually think it could be a Kerrigan. I think the Kerrigan works well with the. Okay, we're all incorrect in this manner, and that'll be a Tyrael. But of course, Justin, with this Tyrael last pick, I want to get your thoughts on both compositions because didn't hear about the Uther Sylvanas as well.
Yeah, so the Tyrael aspect comes out. It's super strange, but it's something that Nick's been doing. It's the damage build Tyrael, which is quite strong, especially if people are grouping up, and there will be at least 3 melees somewhat close together on the side of WildHeart. You get the increased damage and healing when you hit people with your smite with the Tyrael build. And what he does on Dragonshire with this build is he just collects infinite globes. He plays the early game just to collect globes, and then get a bunch of regen from that with the level 1. So that's kind of the expectation, and you can do that very easily on Tomb because it's a small map. And then the goal is to play, it's kind of weird for Oxygen because typically with the Varian alongside a Tychus especially, you're looking to play for just one-shots off the taunt, but Uther does a pretty good job at mitigating that. And then the Tyrael is kind of the substitute for what you would expect to be something like a Lunara to kind of drag fights out against the solo heal Uther. So Oxygen's comp is a little bit weird. I'm not sure if they're going to actually have the burst damage to kill anyone against the Uther. The Tychus might not be enough. So I think that WildHeart's composition makes a little bit more sense. But it's up to Oxygen to kind of drag the fights out and see if they can out-sustain the Uther comp.
We'll see if that out-sustainability will happen here, because we've got Oxygen in the blue, Bad Benny on the Varian, Hazuabs on the Tychus, Nick on the Tyrael, Yasuo on the Anduin, and Copen to play the Blaze. On the side of WildHeart Esports, we're looking at Zergling on the Hogger, Ibetings on the Junkrat, Mason Blaze to play the Sylvanas, Haben on the Anubarak, and Weary Day on the Uther. I like a lot of what was drafted, Grubby, by WildHeart Esports, but I'm leaning into Oxygen again. I just think that they've got this Tyrael is kind of like the X factor a little bit. And also, the ability to lock someone down with a taunt and then a chastise and then Tychus just stands still and he just autos into high health pool heroes. I think this could be an Oxygen win. What are your thoughts here on the draft? What could potentially happen? Or even, what's your favorite bug, Grubby?
My favorite bug? I like spiders.
Oh,
They eat mosquitoes.
That's fair, but the ones in my house are like the size of my thumb. They're huge. They're terrifying, so I'm good.
Channeling a little bit of that local Australia. No, Netherlands is pretty chill with that, so I guess that defines our opinions, right? Maybe a little bit influenced by the map we're playing on as well. Spiders are pretty cool.
But what are your thoughts on the draft and the compositions that we have here for Tomb map number 2?
Looking at this from a Uther perspective, I would feel fairly confident to play Uther here. you don't love necessarily like a Hammer of Justicing variant Tyrio Blaze. They're not like super easy to blow up. Generally, melee assassins really fear the ire of Uther. But the type of healing that he has is going to be pretty okay against the relatively limited poke damage from Oxygen. Now, when Tyrio gets level 13, he actually gets a bit more poke with the Sword of Justice. The teleport in, teleport out, as we have a bit of a battle here going on. The bottom siege camp, 4 versus 4. We have to pull out on Varian. This is pre-level 4 Varian, so Oxygen is going to have to give it up.
Varian's not a real boy just yet, and his son has to save him. Yasuo getting very low here, does not go down. Mason Blaze does step up to trying to find that last little bit of auto damage. Throws the Haunting Wave away and is able to back out, but it is Oxygen who will take a lot of damage here and a lot of health bars very, very low. Yasuo going to get a self-flash heal as well. We do have in the top lane Blaze and Varian chasing onto Junkrat. Level 4 is not here yet, so I feel like if Varian had taunt in that chase, that could have been Blaze and Varian getting the kill, but it won't happen. Mid lane to be cleared out, and bottom lane is losing a lot structurally. This is the members of WildHeart Esports eviscerating the Fort Front Gate.
Yeah, really nice early game damage by WildHeart. They're making use of that Varian level 4 weakness. Meanwhile, Junkrat is getting all the easy clears in the top and mid. So WildHeart again off to a pretty good start. Remember, they got the first 2 kills in the last game. They're still a siege camp. So they're doing good in the early game, but Uther out of mana. Now, there is a way where you're not out of mana by level 5 with Uther, though it is common. The only way that happens is if you barely use Q. You just use W for sustains. But when the need is great, you'll be spamming those heals, and Uther, one of the most mana-hungry heroes in the early game.
Absolutely. Unless you're a Convection Kael'thas, then for some weird reason, they're super mana-hungry as well. But either way. My convection stories aside, we do have a little bit of a turn-in potential from both teams. Very, very close in the gems necessary. There is a taunt onto Hogger in the bottom lane if we can jump back down there. He's trying to get a spin out. Hazuab should have the overkill and does get the kill down there. First blood over to the side of Oxygen Esports. Very, very well played.
Nice job there, getting that kill on Hogger. That's a little bit of a comeback there for Oxygen that would see them have level 7 basically at identical times.
Interrupt from Uther right there as we actually have Varian trying to step in. Hazuab's chasing in as well, looking for that damage. A little bit of body blocking, but they're just mounting up. 7 talent here first for Oxygen. We do have... Oh, wait. We actually have the Victory Rush for the Varian at level... level 7. I feel like we have... Yeah, it's not like a crazy talent, but it's like with Taunt, I feel like I rarely ever see this.
Yeah, theoretically, I feel like it should be the choice. If you go overpower at 1... Theoretically, this should be the choice, because it's not like Second Wind where you have many auto attacks and therefore many heals. That seems like a pick for Twin Blades. And Victory Rush, you get a large amount of heal. That's exactly what you would want. Nice kill there. Second kill with the taunt into the grenade. But I think Haven has a chance to go for Hazuops. He misses the Impale. He misses the Burrow charge as well.
That's
oh no.
So unfortunate. The Impale miss, the Burrow miss. That was one of those moments where just the angle just did not line up for Haben, and he's out of position. That's a triple kill, 3 kills, excuse me, in the last couple minutes, very, very quickly over the side of Oxygen, and they will yield a decent experience advantage, and they're going to be 3 gems away from a turn, and Bad Benny's got those. Yasu, I mean, there's quite a few players with those last few gems to turn in. Yeah, but either way, I was thinking about Varian talents, and I was thinking about the time what I've learned from Justing with C Smash Varian, and you actually go High King's Quest at level 1, and it's not Victory Rush. I always mix up Victory Rush and the other one at level 7.
Second Wind.
Second Wind. You take Second Wind with Smash, and you have the High King's Quest. You actually below 50% can just like sustain pretty insanely. It's really fun. I'd recommend giving it a try. What I wouldn't recommend trying is dying, and that's what Blaze will do, and lose a few gems.
Big misplay. The better play is not dying, but he got it wrong this time. He did get the camp though, which is always worth a lot of points, the camp. But yeah, camp gets cleared up. This was during a Webweaver push, and that does slow WildHeart down just a tad to get in position for various Webweavers. They clear mid with Anubarak and Junkrat. Meanwhile, Mason Blaze is stopping top. Took down about 2 towers. 1 tower bot. Almost 1 tower mid. A modest result for Oxygen.
Just noting really quickly, we got 16 globes for... Oh, wait, hold on. Varian concussion mine over the wall. That's just gonna be a dead boy, and He's out of there for now. We do have Sylvanas still in the top lane. Nick in a bit of a ward positioning, just trying to check out things for his friends. But I do want to point out really quickly, we are on 10 talent tiers, and we've got a Judgment Tyrael.
Oh, Judgment. Oh, so is this going to be Judgment Light Bomb?
I would love to see that. Also, Varian did go Warbringer at level 10, which gives him a 4-second cooldown on charge, and he can use it to allied heroes as well.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Judgment. Then you charge on Tyrael to join him in battle. And Light Bomb. So the two of them are basically judging you together.
Yeah. It's like if they go for this, it's like that mechanic like when Kerrigan ravages a Falstead when he's just about to fly and she ravages across the map.
Yeah,
it's potentially like that. So we'll see if Oxygen's doing that or if this is just another way for Varian to charge in. Also, I think it's the level 13 if I'm not mistaken, or is it 6? It's level 13 I think
4%
for the charge percent.
Damage. Yeah.
So that's a nice upgrade as well if he goes into it.
Is that really better than reducing someone's healing by 40% though? With auto attacks?
Oh, absolutely not. I would absolutely go for the mortal strike at level 13. But I'm just thinking, I'm like, well, if we're looking for these charge-based talents and we're going for this dive style, maybe that's a consideration. I will.
Big fight happening on the pay station, near the pay station. We have a bunker here for Blaze. Bad Bunny takes a lot of damage, goes into the bunker, gets the armor, gets the momentary safety. There's a lot of damage in the top lane by WildHeart. They've managed to take down the top wall.
WildHeart actually, with the slow burn here, they're taking down a lot of really... They're just taking down structures slowly and methodically. We saw the early game fort front gate go down. We're seeing some damage into mid. Top lane, well, as you had mentioned, already had a lot of siege in. 13 talent tier, soon to be here for both teams. We have 6 gems necessary to be picked up by the side of Oxygen, so that's 2 waves. And Tyrael actually might be able to grab that on top as the waves are crashing into him in a safe position.
Nick was considering joining. He's mounted up, but he was staying near minion XP just a bit. WildHeart uses his absence to push down another wall. Really solid structural damage by WildHeart here. They're looking to equalize the series. The lead is definitely not insurmountable, but it's decent. The longer this goes on, having a fort down, more XP they get. WildHeart goes in on half swaps. There's a taunt on Hogger. Good cleanse.
Burrow in from Anubrak and Pale, mostly zoning back the enemy, and I don't think we saw any... Oh, we just saw the taunt heroic from Varian, but that's a very, very low cooldown at 15 seconds, or 16 seconds, and it's just already back up in this moment. Tyrael back in the top lane, pushing things out. He's got 25 regeneration globes. That is going to be, well, bonus heal of 25%. Another fight, potentially, over the Siege Giants in bottom lane.
There's the light bomb. D-shield on the Nubarak. He was thinking of going back in there for a bit. That seems unwise. There's the judgment on him. They know he has no more escape, no D-shield, nothing. And the Nubarak goes down.
But his swan song, he's able to get the cocoon onto the Tychus, which will slow down some of the siege coming in, as at least one last thing done by that Anubrak before he falls. Haven will be dead for the next 18 seconds, but this should be another web weaver turn-in for the side of Oxygen Esports. I don't even think Hasoabs is necessary for the turn-in here, so he's just going to zone out a little bit with a grenade. Now, Blaze, Hogger, they're fighting over this camp, and I feel like this is given.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh, no, it's not.
I don't know why WildHeart is stepping up. They did not have enough people in position.
I mean, Junkrat was on top.
Yeah.
And Anubrak was dead still, so yeah, it's that felt like it was not, like, I don't know if greedy's the right word, but they just couldn't give it up. Like, they were like, we're here, we're doing it, like, we're committed, death or not.
Mentally too committed there, or perhaps really just gambling, hoping that Oxygen doesn't have enough people there, that they would have gone somewhere else, even though there was nothing too pressing. Really just a gamble, and didn't pay off. Oxygen, very clean for them to be where they needed to be to fight over that siege camp, helping out a brother, helping out Copen. Now it's all Oxygen again. They're able to start drawing ahead in the structural integrity of both bases. They were down a fort, now they're going to be up a fort.
Hogger is clearing things out in bottom lane. That web weaver's still around like an eighth of its HP, but Hogger will take care of that, and the Siege Giant camp. Top lane, Nick and crew are still pushing through, and they will find the fort, so it's going to be fort advantage to the side of Oxygen Esports, as WildHeart still has just the mid lane fort available. I believe the fort front wall has already fallen on that one. So it is looking in the late game very much like Sky Temple here, Grubby, where Oxygen looked a little wobbly at the start, I guess you could say, and now we're post 13, it's really been in favor for Oxygen. These 13 Talonteers have been really good. As you mentioned earlier, that Sword of Justice for Nick is a huge play factor in him being able to kind of dip, dive, dodge, and, well, dodge.
It's hard for Anubarak to respond quickly enough to stop him if he really just blinks in. There's no delay at all in your blinks, so you can go in and go back anytime. Impale has a travel time and a cost time. Yeah, you can get information, try to draw some skill shots, and then just back off.
We have the Banner of Dalaran out for the Varian as well. That's going to be Spell Power. We have Mind Control. That's a Light Bomb going to be thrown in. A huge Judgment into the backline onto Uther. Chastise will connect onto one. We do have a little bit of a split fight as Zergling is on the backline onto Hazuabs, who does get the Leap of Faith. Concussion Mine won't be triggered as we have a Riptire coming in from Junkrat. Don't know if it will solidify a kill here, but the bunker's down from Blaze. Yasu way too low, does go down. Commandeer Odin will be cocooned by the Anubarak, so he's not able to get some damage out to the enemy as the Divine Shield will be used as well. Nick trying to back away. Taunt onto Zergling, who gets the spin but doesn't get the spin out. It's a 1-for-1 healer for solo lane, and Oxygen, they chase in further onto Weary Day.
Oh, that's a 2-for-1 now for Oxygen. It started so well. Zergling played such a big part, did such a good role as Hager. He first threatened Tychus to 10% of his life, forcing the Leap of Faith from Anduin. Then his spin took him past Anduin, and he was able to staggering blow Anduin into his team. I thought that was the end of that with that kill, but then he stepped up a bit too much. High on life, high on rage. He actually blundered into the range of the fort all by himself. And then he got taunted there, took the armor debuff, took the damage from Tychus, and ended up falling. And Uther was punished for his sins. Now Oxygen is looking to use their gems. They have 60. You can see the lighted up gem color in the bottom right for the blue gems. Oxygen is trying to pay, get another turn in.
And Haben has enough for the turn-in, only 10 necessary, but good checking of these clutches or the turn-in points from Oxygen has denied that consistently. Alduran's Might out from Tyrael. If anyone steps back in, Nick might actually trigger this and try and go onto Weary Day, but Nick wants the Webweaver phase for his team and will be able to get it right here, right now. You want to jump into Oxygen comms again, see how they play this?
Yeah, are we going to jump into both or just Oxygen?
Just Oxygen this time.
All right, let's go Oxygen.
They see me top now. They see me top.
We're out, we're out. Bot is gonna push, we don't need to do much there. There might go on the top,
cool me?
actually.
Wait, they're
I have
crazy.
bunker.
Get up, get up.
Cover it, okay. Yeah, they're moving bot.
Can we go down?
In there.
Move up with Blaze, move up with Blaze. Checking this
Hogger?
push.
I'm really far actually.
Walking
We are
up
in mid, Nick, so careful. We're
I
gonna
don't
kill
wanna
mid.
taunt yet.
Can you get one top wave, please? We get close to 20, I think. Can we dive them? I will Odin.
I'm taunting that over here for some damage. Just attack.
Yes, comes. Oh.
They use shockwave.
I have a flank, I have a flank.
You're fine, you're fine.
I hit.
No,
I'm
no
hitting
MC,
the
no
fort.
MC. Still with someone
Save. Okay.
Divine shield, divine shield, divine
Hit the
shield.
fort, hit the fort.
No divine shield. We should go bot
We are
now.
3 level. We are Omega far ahead in Soak.
Yeah. So no divine shield, no cleanse, I think. Ah, no, but you reach.
Turn.
Is that? Nice.
I still have judgment. I still have a
Yeah.
drill.
10 taunt.
Lower it into the shit. Okay.
You play
I'm
keep?
mounting. Yeah. 2 seconds.
Hard for me to leave those comms because of just the way that they're communicating, but we do have... Actually, I thought they were going to back away. This is just continued siege through the bottom lane, and they find the Hogger as well, Grubby. The big takeaway, the one thing I love so very much from hearing in those comms is the cooldown counting we're hearing from them. No, no mind control, no divine shield. I don't think they have cleanse, and then immediately... we see a Nubarak, we can get this kill. Unfortunately, a little too long in the bottom lane here. It is going to be 2 members of Oxygen dying, but they find so much value across the map still.
Yeah, some keep damage top and bot, but they did try to stay with a single catapult. Without a minion wave, they tried to cycle in and out of the fort. They were so close to 20. And I think if you ask them on a piece of paper whether they should do this very move that we're looking at here, trying to get a kill behind the keep, I think they would say probably not. You know, level 20 is so close, you can just control the map, you can get half a turn, you can get the boss. Yeah, I don't think you would probably want to be doing that, but got a little bit high on things. They were they were hyped and they kept going.
Yeah.
And WildHeart, with an amazing Junkrat mine into a mind control, managed to isolate the two players, Daddy and Son, away and killed Varian and Anduin.
I was wondering how the Variant died to the Riptire because Tyrael lived, and I think their health bars or their health pools are relatively close, 6,800 to 5,520. And I was actually looking in the replay. Varian did have the armor debuff, but that's a mind control. There comes the Commandeer Odin. Commandeer Odin's so very low. Riptire is actually stopped by the Tyrael Judgment. If that didn't happen, Hazuabs would have died. He would have had the healing and the time, but Haben very low here. That's a light bomb onto him. Ganubarak does get the cocoon onto Tychus once again.
Whoa.
And Haben lives for now. Good healing coming out from Weary Days.
No
The
control.
Faith comes through. No control. Bouncing around. Nick is fine, but Bad Benny is not, as well as the Blaze. Sylvanas turns on the... I guess she turns off the structure by turning on her black arrows. Zergling low, Haben low, and the Webweaver phase pushing in through mid, bottom, and top.
Oh my god, the grenade does so much damage on Haben. He's thinking of boarding. He's not sure whether Weary Day can save him once again. What a great turnaround by WildHeart. They got the... Oh, the grenades hurt. WildHeart did such a good fight there. It was sick. Anubarak stayed alive because of one reason only. Trader King, level 20.
Yep.
That was huge. He lived through so much punishment right then and there. And then, the no control from Hogger. Split the seas, did the damage, did the chase. You even saw Copenhagen just trying to value damage to Hager mid no control. He knows you can't get a stun, but just as a damage. Can we take him down before he burns us down? The answer was no. Circling, another great move. Not his first in this game. And this time, everybody stays alive on WildHeart. They're gonna go for the boss straight away. This is a little bit more of a riskier boss, since as they start, everyone respawned. They think they can get it quickly enough before anyone interrupts, and we'll see if that's true.
Tyrael has been scouted. He is going to be bursted. There's a leap of faith. The boss is going to get a slam on the ground. The boss around an eighth of its HP. No one's able to step in, but here comes the taunt onto the Uther who was zoning, and he does go down. This is looking very familiar, just like the last map. Judgment in the backline onto the Junkrat. We have Tyrael with the Eldruin's Might on the far side. Anubrak burrows out, does get the stun, but now Anubrak a little split from his allies. Can the members of Oxygen punish this play from Anubrak? Bad Benny does get the taunt onto the Sylvanas, who is going to get Divine Shield. And Zergling with the knockback. The boss is still pushing in through the top lane. A very low Hogger tries to back away. Mind Control won't connect because of the bunker down from Blaze, and that is Hogger to go down as we have the chase continuing. Nick looking to make a chase continue. Can he actually jump onto Haben here? Judgment goes in! That's a stun from the Junkrat, actually, the knockback from Junkrat. Varian comes in with the charge. There's a chastise from the Anduin. And Blaze will go clear the boss in the top lane. The keep will fall, but here's the big turnaround moment, which it kind of feels like we're playing catch with Dad. We're going from one side of the battleground to the other. This team gets an advantage, this team gets an advantage. We're just back and forth, but the big thing to note here, Grubby, turn in availability for the side of Oxygen, and we have 2 dead for the next 30 to 45 seconds.
How long will it take for Webweavers to arrive at the keep after being summoned? I've never really paid attention to it too much. Nubarak had a 40-second death time by the time that the final turn-in came. A little bit of core damage, by the way, from WildHeart. So will Nubarak be back when they descend? Looks like he won't be, but yeah, he'll be close to.
I think it's like 15 seconds to when they appear on the minimap from when you get the last gem turned in, and then it just depends on how far they have to go down the lane. But I think it's about 15 seconds. I was looking at the in-game timer from when they got that turn in, but it's about 15 seconds for the animation to begin. But let's talk about the beginning of this siege right here through mid lane. Hogger, he's clearing things out in top. Nick pushing things down in bottom. Commandeer Odin, Hazuabs is using it, and they should take down the keep. Or at least that's my expectation. We'll see if maybe some fishing from Mind Control can stop that.
I mean, Odin alone outranges keep, and he should be able to take it down with his spells and auto attacks. Bottom keep, guaranteed down. Mid keep, could still go down. Odin still has a couple of seconds, maybe not quite. And top has been saved. So all in all, a really good defense by WildHeart. They're a little bit down now, but they're still fine. Wow.
Okay, that was an interesting utilization of the Sword of Justice to throw the light bomb, then go back and try and find the stun. I was like, are they going to try and stun the Riptire? That's weird. Anyways, yeah, that was the first thought I had. I was like, don't do that. But there was a lot more to it. But ooh, this could be a little bit of a throw pit here. Bad Benny will get scouted. Mind Control goes out. 13-second cooldown.
It's a good place for Hager to fight. I don't think you go in here as Oxygen, and
I think they realized that too. both teams ways away from a turn in 70 gems necessary for the side of Oxygen and 60 gems for WildHeart Esports. So WildHeart, actually, they're about halfway to their turn in. Still have many more waves to go through, about 10 or so waves to be able to get enough gems for a turn in. And we're kind of at like a, I wouldn't say a stalemate, but we're just in a lull of the game here, Grubby, where both teams are kind of, they don't have really many things to do on the map. There's not a lot of hobbies to do. Camps are taken, bosses taken, not enough for a turn in. Do you just take a raw fight? Doubtful.
It's very common on 2 Meter Spider Queen, if the game goes beyond the 20-minute mark, that the boss and the gems are not sufficient. Like, the boss is absent, and you don't have enough gems to get the turn in. So in moments like this, it all becomes an information game. The extra camps matter. So far, WildHeart is not showing on the map. They've shown Zergling take a rather risky route, so it is quite easy to extrapolate for Oxygen that WildHeart must be guarding the tunnel that would lead to a Hager gank.
I see. Okay, yeah. And I like how Oxygen's playing this. They're like, all right, we're just going to slow push in this mid wave. We'll have a wave. We'll try and confirm the keep. We'll see if that will happen. There's a leap of faith from Anduin. Sword of Justice from the Tyraels. He jumps back out of the engagement. Divine Shield feels a little early on the Hager there.
Yep. Yeah, that was way too early. I get it. Hager looked like he did a bad engage. Shockwave missed, indeed. And then he was going to spin away, but there was the risk. What if he gets Perm CC'd? Then he could die. But then it's better to wait for 1 or 2 CCs and then D-shield. It was early.
Yeah. So that's down for the next 60 or so seconds. We have Bunker up in 40-something, and everything else. Actually, the Shockwave is on cooldown for the next 35 as well. So more utility for the side of Oxygen Esports, and they will pop their Commandeer Odin. Let's see. What do they do with this? Is this just a Commandeer Odin for the siege onto the keep? Kind of seems like that's the case. Nick goes in, jumps back out. We do have, looking at gem count right now, still very far off from both teams. Mind Control goes out, not connecting either.
A lot of damage on Sylvanas, a lot of damage on Weary Days Uther there. He is going to be respawning. The Odin will take down the keep. That was always going to happen. They've now popped the redemption from Uther, but that's really valuable. WildHeart in hot pursuit. They've got a Mind Control.
Judgment from the Tyrael into the backline. Ivy Tinks gets the concussion mine away, but Nick is hot on his tail and is able to confirm the kill. Hager bounces away. And is this singular kill enough for Oxygen to advance towards the core? No, because boss is up, and that is a tool to take down a keep and potentially end the game, though it does give the cooldown or the death timer over to Junkrat, because I believe in the next 47 seconds, it'll take that too long for a boss to be taken and then also walked into lane. Also kind of seems like WildHeart, I don't know if saying go for broke is the right call here, but they're going in for this, and that is a bad call in my opinion.
Well, that's a D-shield that stopped the double engage. Hager, it's all down to Hager here. Zergling is the only massive DPS that can take down multiple people. Sylvanas here specializes in a single target. Doesn't have the double Windrunner build, where you weave through with a Wailing Arrow that can maybe do a big play against 5 members. No, this is all Hager. And the boss being started again, this time without D-shield, puts WildHeart in a nearly impossible situation.
Also have Judgment back up. Commandeer Odin is here as well. That's the taunt from the Varian. There's the Judgment from Tyrael as well. Light Bomb goes in and Sylvanas will fall. Commandeer Odin still chasing in. Commandeer Odin actually leashing the boss, if I'm not mistaken. So Hazuabs is still working on it because the rest of the team can confirm these kills. It's actually the assassin Yasu who gets the double kill in this, and the third, actually, it was a fully leashed boss, the third time the members of Oxygen go on this boss, and they will confirm it here. I'm also looking at gem count, 57 out of 70 for the side of Oxygen Esports. Only 13 gems need to be picked up and also turned in with the other 57 to get that Webweaver summon, but I don't think that's the play from Oxygen. I think they're going to try and push up with this, as there's 2 dead for the next 30 seconds on average.
Yeah, I do believe this should be the end of the game. I think this boss has too much health. It has 46,000 and 600 health. That is more than 4 full health Diablos, full health, full soul Diablos at this point. So basically, you've got the health bar of 10 heroes running at you, going for core.
Judgment also has the upgrade from level 20 we did not talk about, so you can Judgment from like two screens away essentially, but the Light Bomb goes in. That's Haben taking too much damage, and he shall fall. The Sylvanas and Uther will be back here in a second, but I don't know if they're going to have the core defenses necessary, as the boss still very, very healthy. Hazuovs just wants to pad his stats a little bit right there. He should potentially see a hog or kill if he can land the grenade, but that is not the conversation. The conversation to have at this point is that Uther died once again. Just kidding. No, the conversation is the judgment onto the Mason, please.
Or is it Oxygen going for a 2-0 here in this best of 5 in round 1 of the playoffs? WildHeart with moments of greatness, some cool plays coming out of Zergling, but ultimately it was not going to be enough. Oxygen's triple frontline has for the second time beaten the double backline DPS of WildHeart. Justin, we need to know how.
So they did it by basically just destroying them in all the late game team fights. Oxygen looking just ridiculous in the late game fights. It really felt like the Uther from Weary Day didn't get quite the value that they'd hoped, and the damage coming out from the Oxygen team was very deceptive. Even Blaze up there with 55k. The burst damage, which is what the Blaze damage was that really counted, was a lot more than maybe expected, and you can see the healing difference too. I talked about how Uther makes them kind of play on a timer for WildHeart because the sustain's not there. 130k for Anduin versus the 80k for Uther. That's a massive discrepancy between the amount of just sustain in general that the healers have. And look at the self-healing from Nick too, 68,000 for the Tyrael. That's more than a lot of heroes dealt this game. So you had kind of a weird situation with the Tyrael last pick that did feel really strong into the Uther. Instead of going the route of something like a Lunara or an Azebo to kind of poke out the Uther, instead going for just having that sustain yourself, just healing yourself and being kind of a diving into the backline, sort of like a mosquito, like the Tracer, just poking the backline, but doing it while also having a bunch of sustain. Really worked out well against the Uther for those long fights. The early game, Haswabs was absolutely smurfing it on the Tychus. He got 2 picks that he had almost no business getting, even escapes here, and they're going to end up getting another kill with the Tychus. Haswabs playing that solo range position extremely well with all of his big beefy boys he's got in front of him. And the damage from Oxygen just felt really deceptive. The Anubarak, especially into this type of composition, feels nearly impossible to play for Haben, especially when you have an Uther alongside it. You really need to get clean, decisive engages, and you don't have a lot of targets. You can't really go for any of the front lines, so you're pretty much forced to try to just dive onto Yasu on the Anduin in the back line, or dive onto Hasu on the with the Tychus, but he also has Odin with the Unstoppable. He has the pull from Anduin if Yasu's safe. So it became very difficult, and we could see that into the late game, WildHeart needed to get a decisive engage with the Anubarak and the Uther, but their backline damage doesn't really supplement that too well. You can't really dive forward with a Junkrat or a Sylvanas, so it was just difficult in the late game fights, and the taunt from Bad Benny was just getting too much value. It forced too much cooldowns, it forced too much respect from Weary Day on the Uther. I'd expected that the taunt wouldn't be hugely impactful, but it actually had enough damage to one-shot off of the taunt if there wasn't cooldowns available from the Uther. And trading something like a D-Shield to save someone who's taunted is absolutely not going to be a good trade of cooldowns, because the D-Shield's not going to be back up anytime soon, and they could just do that over and over again. Nick even taking the Judgment level 20 to look for more engages, and Haben just feeling way too squishy in these fights. Not really the type of tank that you want into all these melees. So that was something that I touched on in the draft, is it was weird to prioritize the Anubarak so heavily, and I think maybe if they had a Brightwing and then they could go into something even like a Garrosh or the tank, they would have felt a lot more comfortable for WildHeart, or a Stitches, and just look for picks. But with their comp in the late game, they just couldn't decisively engage, and Oxygen constantly fishing with the taunt from Bad Benny. Neither team was able to get the kind of knockout punch with the gems. It took a lot of skirmishes, a lot of fights, a lot of picks, and in the end, fighting over this boss, WildHeart opts to take the 4v5. They do lose the fight heavily. They lose 2 members. Weary Day goes down. You've got Sylvanas going down, and Oxygen just using that boss as bait, basically. Setting up the checkmate situation, saying, you want to 5v3 us? Probably not, but you kind of have to now. So Oxygen setting up the map for success, and just looking like the stronger team right now.
It was a really, really good map. I want to ask you a question, Justin, because I had a thought during the game, and it was actually in one of those clips right there where there was the boss that was won over by the side of WildHeart. We saw Nick using the Judgment to to judge the Junkrat consistently. Is this kind of the adaptation that Oxygen took? Because you talked about in the draft about getting a Genji to dive into the backline and punish the Junkrat and stuff like that. Was this the adaptation from Oxygen to constantly punish that backline, or is this just also the special sauce of Nick where it's just he's insane on Tyrael?
I think it's a combination of things. The pick was very strong here because Tyrael has a lot of just kind of random spread damage, but with the wormhole level 13, the teleport back, so he can dive into the backline relatively safely. I'm a little bit surprised that he wasn't more afraid of the Junkrat traps on the floor. That was something that he didn't really seem to ever get caught up in those.
Yeah.
So maybe WildHeart not playing to kind of peel quite as much as they could have been with some things like Weary Day stun. But you had sustain from the Tyrael, which is good into Uther to play the long fights. You had the dive into the backline, which Junkrat hates. And you had the super small map on Tomb where you can just collect as many globes as you want for that level 1, which also helps in the sustain against Uther. So yeah, it was, after seeing it played out and thinking about it, it was just a really, really good pick into what WildHeart had drafted, and didn't feel like WildHeart had a good response to it.
Yes, that level 1, I was actually looking at it, and it was, I'm sure there was more globes grabbed, but there was one point where I did see he was at 50, and there was still, like, we still had a solid few more minutes of the game to go on, so he probably at least broke 60 regeneration globes, which is absolutely insane on a Tyrael, but very easy on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. As always, we are going to get prepared for our third map, and in that time, we're going to go ahead and let these players stretch their legs, get a glass of water, and all that good stuff in between. So, we're going to take a short little break. In this break, I encourage you to hit ! Prize pool, get yourself over to the prize pool. As a reminder, the prize pool is 100% going to the players. First place will take 35% of the total, and keep in mind, Wisdom will be adding $10,000 to the prize pool at the end of the season. So, if you'd like to get over to the Matcherino, push that prize pool further and support these players, use ! Prize pool in chat. But as I mentioned, we're going to take a short little break. When we come back, map number 3 between Oxygen Esports and WildHeart Esports. Don't go anywhere. This is HeroesCCL, presented by Wisdom. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and to everyone watching at the Wisdom Studios in Mall of America. My name's Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justin here on our HeroesCCL playoff weekend presented by Wisdom. We're in day number 1, and we got 3 awesome days of all this action. We're in our first best of 5 of the entire weekend, and I gotta ask Grubby, and we'll start with you actually. Grubby and Justin, how are you feeling about this series so far? Is it meeting your expectations? Is there enough Cho'Gall? Because there isn't. There's not enough Murky either, and I know the people at Next Level Gaming would love for there to be a first pick Murky. Just saying. What are you thinking here, Grubby? How are you feeling?
I think the story of the match so far is European triple bruiser against the American double backline damage. There's 2 things here. There's the regionality, and then there's the style of play. And I mostly want to focus on the style of play, because that's something that can be changed if you think that would be a good thing. WildHeart so far has used Sylvanas twice as part of a double backline composition. Twice with a kind of CC-focused second damage dealer, Falstad and Junkrat. And they haven't perhaps gone for a backline damage dealer that kind of owns and punishes triple frontline. And I guess I want to discuss with you guys, what kind of backline range damage dealers do you feel are particularly well suited to deal with triple frontline? I've got my own ideas, but I'd like to hear from you guys.
I'm going to throw it right to Justin, honestly.
So the obvious one would be Mephisto. I think he's just the best at it in general. They're playing these compositions that have just, they're always so close together and so clumped up that it's kind of weird to not see the Mephisto come out. And then from backline damage, you have things like the Leoric, like the Malthael. Malthael in particular is just super strong against it. And even though the Falstad didn't get quite the value you'd expect, the Gust at 20, had they gotten the Wind Tunnel, super strong into all the melees. And there's just there's a lot of stuff you can play against it. Even Lunara does fairly well into it, but it's Cassia also does well with the auto attack build. The splash autos is really strong. There's a lot of options, but not really a whole lot of it has been picked. Junkrat in the last game wasn't enough, so you maybe need more than just kind of this like split damage against them. Or if you do that, you need to draft it with something else. Like a Nubarak wants to go in, Junkrat wants to poke. He doesn't really want to, go in like that.
I think of like Greymane in that moment. Like it'd be great to have a Greymane to pair with the Anubrak, a dive buddy as we like to call it as well. Even some burst ability like a Jaina or a Li Ming would be really, really nice to have.
Jaina.
Like Jaina, she has the ice block, so she can buy a little bit of time. Li Ming, she can blink. You can get force armor for some spell armor. So there's a lot of really cool things to consider, and we can consider more of these drafts here as we can find out where we're going to for map number 3. And I think the biggest takeaway that we really need to consider here for Oxygen is that that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, and they need to make sure that they don't overdo it here. We are going to Dragonshire. This will be the map choice of Oxygen, WildHeart Esports wanting first pick priority. But when you're sitting in a situation here, Grubby, when you're 2 maps up, it's a double elimination bracket, so you could drop the enemy or drop the opposing side down in the bracket and keep yourself in this upper bracket. You want to make sure that you are not overconfident in these moments and you keep playing to your strengths. The one thing that I love from Oxygen here in all the maps that they've drawn Sergeant Hammer first bans, which is huge to me here, Grubby, because of the fact of so many weeks that Hasu just kind of got away with it. Like, he just kept playing it. Nick popularized it, so it's really cool that there's now a whole slot for just a singular ban that, I mean, Sergeant Hammer, she works great, but like, she's not like, oh, pick it and win the game, easy GG. I
think she is now.
Oh, really?
I think she slowly slid into that slot. Perhaps even more than Junkrat. Because while Junkrat was often so hard to play around with the lockdown and the vision and the unkillable traps and concussive, Hammer's gonna straight up bring the fire to your shins. She's gonna bring the battle to your gates. She's gonna take down forts, gonna take down towers, and she can never be stopped by a single hero. What you saw Copenhagen using Blaze into Falstad on Sky Temple, where he used Blaze to kill Falstad or Force Gust, nobody does that to Hammer. Hammer needs like 3 people to respond in order to take her down. And then once you're gone, if she managed to get away, she's going to do it again. Against Sylvanas, you really love Sylvanas 3 times in a row. She's particularly good at single target damage when you go mind control. I'd love to see Wailing Arrow coming out of WildHeart this time. Pepper a big Wailing on 3 frontline.
And Dragonshire, it's a map where we consistently see 4v4s in the bottom lane, even in the rotations. Oh, I'm liking this early Karazim. This is really cool here, Justin, with the Blaze as well.
Yeah, I think the Monk it's for the map, because Dragonshire is a map where there's a lot of small skirmishes, and you want your support to be able to be a bit more independent. Something like an Anduin is only really able to heal, and a lot of the time you're not in these active fights where that healing is going to be too relevant. The Monk is always going to be getting value. He's going to be punching buildings, he's going to be punching camps, he's going to be punching the enemy with his 7s, and it's also a deny pick because the Sylvanas, with the mind control that they've had in the past 2 games, pairs extremely well with the Monk. This map, Dragonshire, is basically made for pick comps, so denying the Monk, denying that easy percent damage, isolation, one-shot with the Sylvanas, mind control, very strong. And yep, after the last game, the Trill being banned away, the expectation is to see Weride still go with the Uther because he's another relatively self-reliant kind of independent support on Dragonshire. So even though it didn't work in the last game, they're banning the Tyrael now against it if they do go that route. And the Tyrael also just was played on this map before.
Yes. That was actually what I was looking really quickly. Dragonshire, Tyrael has been played twice for the 2 wins that Oxygen has on the map as well. 2 wins, 1 loss. Though, Grubby, there's a lot unfolding here. I want to get your thoughts on the drafts as well.
So Anubarak struggled against Triple Bruiser on Tomb of the Spider Queen when WildHeart had Anubarak. Doesn't that mean that WildHeart should now show the draw flexibility to inflict the same thing upon him? Go for another frontline and then a healer, like Rhaegar Imperius. But I don't know if they have that in their bag. Let's see what it's gonna be.
Next 2 picks. I'm excited about this. Ooh, I like the Thrall a ton. I do like the Thrall a ton here. Yeah.
So they do have it. It is Rhaegar, and it is another frontline Thrall. Let's see if that's going to work against the Anubarak. This time we do have a better anti-melee on the side of Oxygen. Lunara will do a little bit better against 3 melee.
Oh, well, Justin, we're about to get into our last pick here. So, of course, as always, want to get your thoughts on the draft that has unfolded and potentially who could even take Dragonshire map number 3. Because Oxygen, I mean, as I said, they're in the driver's seat. That's 2-0 right now in this best-of-5 series. Last pick, Specialty, Kerrigan for Nick.
Yep, really all in on the pick composition, the CC from Oxygen. This makes a lot of sense on Dragonshire as it is the best map for the pick comps, and Kerrigan has so much CC to provide for those picks. All you have is the cleanse from Weary Day. In the last game, the Anubarak played by Haven was against the triple melee, but it was also against 3 actual just full-on tank heroes, which now it's against a Thrall, which Thrall is a bit of a target in these comps. He's not quite as tanky as something like a Tyrael or something like the Imperius, which is a replacement for it. So I'm not sure if the Thrall, while it is a melee, is going to be quite as tanky as they'd hope. I think he might still be kind of a detriment in the fights because if he gets CC'd, he just dies. So it's going to take a lot of maneuvering from the Thrall to play very smart and safe. Oxygen's comp also has just a ton of dive. Lunara supplements dive well. She actually has the mobility to get into the backline from range. You have the Q range if you want. you have either ultimate to be able to help you to dive into the backline with either damage or, with your whole deer body. You've got Monk with 7s that can dive into the backline. I think Oxygen's composition still just looks stronger to me. But if WildHeart's going to do it, it's going to have to be now, because this looks like Oxygen's playground, and they've got a comp that they're comfortable with. They have the pick comp. I'm leaning heavily into Oxygen, just sweeping the series here.
I would prefer the brooms to be kept into the janitor's closet, but we'll see if that broom does come out and if it will be a sweep, as Oxygen in the blue will have Bad Benny on the Anubrak, Yasu on the Karazim, Nick on the Kerrigan, Hazuabs to play Lunara, and Copen on the Blaze. The side of WildHeart Esports, we're going to be seeing Zergling on the Hogger, Mason Blaze on the Thrall, Haben to play the Muradin, Ivy Tings on the Sylvanas, and Weary Day on the Rhaegar. I agree here, adjusting. I think that they can take this one. I think Oxygen will make it a 3-0. But, of course, Grubby, got to get your thoughts here as well on the drafts that have been picked up here for Dragonshire map number 3.
I think this is a very Dragonshire draft by Oxygen. A lot of mobility. Every single member has a jump or bonus mobility. And on WildHeart's side, that is almost true. Rhaegar and Thrall can become faster. But I guess that puts them on equal footing with Lunara, who wouldn't go Leaping Strike. So yeah, I do think both teams drafted very well for Dragonshire. And should be possible for either team.
Bad Benny short on the burrow right there, maybe getting pinged from his allies. Nick comes in with a lot of damage. Zergling will be the target, and first blood goes over to the side of Oxygen Esports. Hogger dead for the next 9 seconds. Really well played in that collapse into top.
Dragonshire is so interesting at pro play. Many teams don't actually love playing it because it is a bit more complicated. It is a bit of a slower burn map. And you don't teamfight as 5 as much. There's lots of mini skirmishes, lots of PvE orientation. But it is one of the most complex maps there is. At the pro level, it's usually played with a solid offlaner that can clear bruisers, like Hogger and Blaze. There's one person kind of plugging the bot, call it the anchor. And then 3 to 4 members are just traveling back and forth trying to get ganks. Weary Day should have another heal to save himself. There we go.
Sorry, I was nervous for him. It's one of those moments where like you're just running away and you're watching your health bar tick down. It's like please, 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 please. Where's my heal? But something we didn't really talk about much is just Hazuab's on the Lunara. Like, he is insanely good at this hero. One of the players that also very much popularized Thornwood Vines in the CCL as a safe play tool, so that he's not just playing super aggressive. And I like the idea of Thornwood Vines here. Poke at the enemy, whittle them down, have the Kerrigan go in. She's got all that assimilation. I expect Nick to go in for the Ultralist to pair into more stun potential. Rhaegar's the target once again in the top lane. That's going to be Blaze missing the jet propulsion, but Weary Day still goes down. A second kill for the side of Oxygen Esports, who start to pull ahead slightly in the experience department by about a quarter, maybe even eighth of a level.
Yeah, this map is being won by rotations. Rotations means sending your heroes to another lane, usually, preferably, unspotted. Usually, preferably, after you've taken down the minion waves in the mid lane already. A minion lane is said to be extremely important. It offers the information, the vision, for you to know whether a team is traveling from mid to bot, or to go through mid at all. And when Oxygen knows that that is not happening, then they immediately know where everyone is. So Oxygen actually uses the Lunara Wisp to check this triangle bush that you see there, the Bermuda Triangle of invisible vision. That Wisp, the Sentinel Wisp, will cover the entire triangle.
Yeah.
And then the Oxygen knows exactly how many people are going to be bot and top. And so that's why they are able to get 4 versus 3 several times in the top lane, because they know where everyone is. They've got a great vision game. WildHeart, they try to push back with brazen Sylvanas pushes, empowered by Black Arrows.
So Lunara's level 1, as you were mentioning, that Sentinel Wisp is such a huge tool for Lunara players and teams because of just how much vision it can provide. Right now, like if once the Wisp activates, it can see nearly to where the Rhaegar totem was. So very, very just expanded vision, as you were mentioning, in that Bermuda Triangle between top and mid. That will also give information to Copen if he's going to get ganked by an enemy, but also gives the information of, well, is there anyone in that rotation? Can we make the rotation up? Yasu comes in, Copen trying to make the play happen here, but that's a bounce. That might be a dead Blaze. Yasuo trying to heal through a lot of this. He does have the Iron Fist at level 1. Does he have a block? Actually, he went into Healing Totem at level 4. Usually it's Block Totem. Copen might be dead in this. I don't know if he's going to be able to back away, especially from IB on that Sylvanas. So the members of WildHeart Esports finding their first kill in this series, in this game, and Yasuo almost going down as the second kill. Lunara pressuring the Thrall in bottom pretty heavily, actually. Thrall taking a lot of damage as he's trying to clear out the Siege Giants, as Haben has to Dwarf toss out of mid.
I feel like Healing Totem is a misclick, like almost.
Yeah, I agree.
Just, I mean, we can try to give it the benefit of the doubt, but you have a healing token that does 20% of someone's max health, 2%. Yeah, 2% over 10 seconds. So 20% over 10 seconds.
Oh.
I mean, that's decent. But you look at Earth Ally into Thrall, Hogger, Merlin, Sylvanas, Rhaegar. They have massive auto attacks, those 5. And it has more health than the Spirit Ally. Same cooldown. So it feels better. But this is more of a macro choice. Less for the bursty teamfight and more for the macro. So healing people up in between rotations, little skirmishes. So I think if we're on Infernal Shrines, he probably wouldn't go Kharazim. But if we were, it'd be Earth Ally for the big 5v5 burst protection. But here, probably it's a choice for macro.
We also, I'm just looking at the healing difference. There's like a 2,500 healing difference, and you'd expect me to say that Rhaegar's ahead. No, it's Kharazim. Kharazim's ahead by like 2,500 healing for his allies, which... This is also an Iron Fist Kharazim, so he's not taking healing punchies at level 1 either. So this it's just Kharazim. He's a very, very. I think he's a difficult healer to play. Like, there's a lot of just nuance with him, much like a Stukov in like where you spread your pathogen, when to use reactive ballista spores, a lot of things like that, or even a white mane. Like there's so much technical play with these healers. So I'm excited to see Yasuo playing Kharazim once again because he just really makes the character look so much stronger. As that's a 7-sided strike onto Haben. There's Kerrigan going in, the Primal Grasp, the upheaval. Oh my God, they almost get the kill onto Haben. The Ancestor Healing and the Avatar will be utilized for that. A lot of damage onto the silenced Kerrigan. Hey, you guys asked for a mind control, or excuse me, you asked for a Wailing Arrow. You got it, and that Wailing Arrow shut down Nick.
Yeah, Wailing Arrow, good choice, I think. Let's see if it helps WildHeart to win some of the bigger team fights. This was a really good play on Haben, but he was saved by Rhaegar. And WildHeart manages to get their second kill of the battle here.
Also want to note the level 7 for Rhaegar. He did go into the Purification, so that does give a 15-second cooldown passively to Purge, so Purge now is a 45-second cooldown. We've also got some cool utility as well, healing some allies if they are going to be slowed, stunned, rooted, or silenced. And you can also utilize it as a damage and engage tool onto enemies, as it does have a 40% slow and some damage to shielding as well. Kharazim, though, getting some punches onto Muradin, but I think this is more of a poke in the rotation than anything else.
I had a game recently with Yasuo on my team. Bahamut. Oh, hold that thought. That's a triple stun combo. Burrow charge into Impale into Kerrigan combo, but it turns around. WildHeart manages to survive there, no problem. Okay, story time.
Yes.
I had a game with a Yasuo on my team as Kharazim on Alterac. And it was a medium-sized game, medium-length game. He had 95,000 hero damage as Kharazim. 0 deaths. And he was on Divine Palm, not even 7-sided.
Wow.
Yeah, insane.
Yasuo tries to come in through the bottom lane to heal up Lunara, but Hazuabs will fall. It's 3-3 in our kills, but later game kills are going to yield more experience. You can see WildHeart pulling ahead in that experience department as they've got nearly a level lead, but they do have a talent tier advantage for the next half level with this 13. And looking at the level 13, some pretty good talents here. We do have the healing static for the Muradin, which is going to pair into the Thunderburn as well for the just extra sustainability for Haben.
There's Nick faking a Kerrigan combo. Part of any melee assassin's kit and playstyle should be to pretend to go all in and then actually not go in. Kind of a part of Thrall's play as well. When you Ravage in or when you Wind Fury forward, when you dive forward as an Illidan, and you always do your actual engage. Oh, there's a 7-sided kill. Nice rotation by Yasuo. He saw that happening for a while. But yeah, if you do the predicted thing and you say, look, I look like I'm going in and I do my full all-in initiation combo, that's going to make you a huge target. So if you're looking to become better at melee assassin, definitely take a look at how Nick sometimes engages. That Ravage looked like it was going to be a combo, and yeah, just doesn't, right?
Cocoon onto Weary. There's an Ancestor healing onto himself, as we also do have the Sundering from Thrall. Bad Benny on a sliver of HP and finally will fall. The Dragon Knight is available, as we have a little bit of a UI thing going on. I don't know what's going on with that. There's no Dragon Knight to be had, but it doesn't matter because the fight does continue on the right side of our screen. Yasuo able to get the dash away. Muradin with the heavy impact. He does have that slow from level 7. Hogger coming into the mix, but it is going to be seen by that Wisp as the Shockwave connects onto Copen. There's a root from Thrall. He's going to be just chain CC'd. Copen tries to back away, and one auto from Sylvanas will get the kill. Anubrak just now respawning, and now this is WildHeart. This is where WildHeart really, really wanted to be in this game right now. They've got a level lead. They're approaching a talent tier advantage in a level, so this is going to be in a good spot. But I also want to point out one little fun thing about this map. We're 10 minutes in, 14 to 15 in levels, 4 to 5 in kills, Grubby. Not a single Dragonite yet.
Yeah. Only Hanamura and Haunted Mines can really match that pretty much, where the objective gets mostly ignored. And it's not that teams don't want it, it's decent. But I had an interview with HeroesCCL recently, and he said, like, yeah, it doesn't feel like the Dragonite is as strong as well, besides the difficulty of taking it. And it really only starts getting dangerous like level 21, 22, 23 plus.
It's a good, yeah, exactly. It's a good sieging tool, but often we find ourselves just finding like a gate or one singular structure. Hogger's bounce doesn't go the way. I don't know if he meant to keep going deeper, or if he meant to hit the loot horde, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to be able to continue bouncing around. Talent tier advantage to WildHeart Esports with the 16 right here, a level to go, and Lunara Hazuabs is able to stall out the Moon Shrine on the bottom of the map. But while that's happening on the bottom, over in the top, IB and crew want to push onto a fort to open things up even further. Periodic catapult pressure and some more of that juicy passive experience.
I think WildHeart learned a lot in that 5-minute toilet break that we just had after game number 2. Now running triple frontline, having a dedicated tank killer, which they didn't have before via Thrall, and switching to Wailing Arrow for Sylvanas feels like some really good adjustments that has helped them to get ahead in this game. 2 forts lead.
Okay, so 2 forts ahead. 16, though, will be hit here, and that's also a big power spike for Kerrigan because you have the Unbridled Energy as well. Damaging heroes with heroic ability grants 35% spell power for 4 seconds. Here comes the Sylvanas, the Sundering from the Thrall as well. Chrysalis from Nick to buy a moment, but it's not going to be worthwhile, and she still goes down. The Queen of Blades will be the queen of taking a nap.
Oh my god, Kerrigan got absolutely blasted out of this world. Keep in mind that Chrysalis gives a kind of a shield, a health pool of 1406. So they burned through all that, Kerrigan's health, and that 1.4k quote-unquote shield. Absolutely fast. Nice CC combo there. Now, Mason Blaze is gonna look at taking this Dragon Knight. Will there be an engage?
It's on to Muradin.
Jeez, well, how smart was that? That's a weird place to be at. Neither responding to the DK, nor any kind of interrupt on the DK, nor any kind of side lane clear up. Just in the top bush. How did they know that someone will go there?
That's just one of those rotations that you've seen. It's like, all right, Haven makes his rotations in Scrim all the time to set up in the bush, blah, blah, blah. We're going to set up in the bush before Haven can do it. Also, I don't know if we mentioned it, but there was a... Yasuo damage over... Oh, good heal from Rhaegar. But there was a Wisp in the bush to the left of the Dragonite, so there was a lot of information already being seen by Oxygen, so they knew they could sit in that bush. And either way, this is going to be another collapse. I said earlier WildHeart was kind of getting into the driver's seat, but this is late game stagger deaths like this. This is huge for the side of Oxygen. They'll jump back in experience, and they'll maybe be able to get some siege value of their own, as the Dragonite found a mid lane fort. As I mentioned beforehand, not a ton of value, but still getting a little bit with this Dragonite, as the mid lane fort front gate on the side of WildHeart does fall.
Yeah, a bit of a reprieve here for Oxygen, Bahamut, but they're still down in forts. 3 forts, no less. It's a bit of a confidence booster as well, getting those bunch of kills, 6 versus 6, but WildHeart, if they can stay cool here and protect their forts in this 4 versus 5, you're still looking at a level 20 much earlier. Now, Bahamut, I wouldn't dare asking anyone else here, but after the DK despawns, how long does it take for new temples to appear?
It's very, very short. I believe it's a 1 minute for the announcement, then 1 minute 30 to the actual contestation.
Yeah, I think I remember that from you last time. So just 90 seconds. That means
very
it's
short,
15
yeah.
plus. Oh, that's a big sundering on 4 members. Wailing Arrow.
That's a bunker down from Blaze, buying a little bit of a window. The fort will fall. The shockwave from the Hogger does come through. HoTS taking a lot of damage, trying to throw in as much damage as he possibly can. As we have the Ancestor Healing connecting onto Zergling, 7-sided strike onto Mahaben as the Blaze will fall. Now Nick trying to back away, but the slowing totem with the Earth Grasp upgrade at level 16 will lock in Sylvanas, or excuse me, the Kerrigan, and Sylvanas does find that kill. Yasuo trying to back away, not in range of the... Ooh, really good burrow out there as well. Not in range of any sort of staggering blows. So 2 members fall on the side of Oxygen Esports, which does push WildHeart into the 20 talent tier that they need. And if I'm not mistaken, we should see the announcement of Dragon Knight's Moon and Sunshine should be fairly soon.
That gave WildHeart level 20. However, Oxygen did get their first fort. They felt like they could just make use of a little bit of a timing window to take down the top fort, and they overdid it. WildHeart punished them for it in a great engage, a 4-man sundering into a wailing that I'm not sure if the wailing actually hit everybody, but in the aftermath with the residual fort still remaining, it was enough for WildHeart to win that fight decisively. Now with 5 catapults, wouldn't you just threaten core? I think they should just threaten core. It's 5 catapults.
Hogger's not there, and I wonder if that's the reasoning. Hogger's off getting a camp, and I know Lunara's showing in top lane, but that's at least my intuition in the moment, because I was looking at the same thing and I was like, I wonder actually. I actually wonder why they're not going for the third.
I would have gone in.
I think I would have too. I would have called for that. Now Bush set up next. Bush set up next to the Dragonite. Burrow charged to check the far side. No one was there. Everyone back into the bush. Haven's going for the channel. Lunara has 1 interrupt. We do have that Sentinel Wisp in the bush, so a lot of vision from that one. The nice HoTS moves it so it doesn't get hit with the easy throw dynamite. And this is a good fight mid lane for WildHeart because they have pressure in the bottom lane. But oh my god! Good night, Rhaegar!
The one person that cannot defense, but Thrall was deleting Nubarak. Bad Benny manages to get the Burrow charge out though. Now WildHeart, they couldn't lose their only healer in a full 100-0 at a better time. They have double Bruiser Camp, double Temple. There may even be a way for WildHeart not to lose the Dragon Knight right here.
We actually have Bad Benny 50%ing the Moonshine, so it's actually on the neutral position as we have Jet Propulsion from Blaze stopped by a Stormbolt of the Muradin, and actually Nubarak goes back to confirm the Moonshine. We have a lot of damage on core. I think Kerrigan is hearthing out, so she'll take care of this. Does have her level 4. She's got Blink as well. That Blink at level 20 is also going to give her a lot of assimilation shields and stuff like that. But Kerrigan showing in bottom. Oxygen, this is a 4v4 because the Rhaegar's dead for still 8 more seconds. This feels really tense on the Oxygen side. WildHeart kind of feels like they can slow play this. At least that's how it seems to me, is that they can slow play this and take the map.
It's true though, WildHeart was able to survive the Rhaegar death without losing any forts, without losing the Dragon Knight. They did lose the double Bruiser Camp, double laser situation. Now taking back bottom again and having Siege Camp, they continue to be in an advantageous situation. I'm also a little disappointed. I mentally predicted 7% core damage, but it was 5. Nick overperforming once again with Kerrigan. The perfect combo on the Siege Camp that was attacking the core. Now, WildHeart is controlling the Bermuda Triangle. They've got the mid vision. Oxygen is very aware of what could happen. The Sentinel Wisp is about to expand its vision. Oh, he's moving.
Moved it again, yeah. I was checking vision as well, and I was like, okay, what can HoTS see here? Hogger will have the channel on the Sunshine, but I don't think there's going to be a rotation quick enough from Oxygen to be able to go for Dragonite, as well as so many WildHeart members in mid. This is that point where the Dragonite does really chunk into structures. The last one, the first Dragonite we had, I was looking at the stats, did like 650 or so damage into structures, half that into basic damage. So right now we keep scaling on the Dragonite, and that felt like forever ago. We'll see if anyone's able to grab this, but right now it's once again a bush setup. I can feel the tension from Oxygen. They want a 3-0 in the series and continue their run through the upper bracket, but WildHeart, they are making this not easy at all. And checking vision, Haben and Sylvanas were shown for a second. IB Things did show up in that Wisp as it does move, so it does lose that. But Bad Benny and Yasuo know there's someone right below.
Keep in mind that in a best of 5, which we are in, map score no longer matters. So all that Oxygen needs is 1 out of 3 maps. They don't even care about map score, which, you know, did matter in the league because map differential mattered.
Yeah, the differential, which, you know, that's how we had all that shakeup in our standings as well, with one team losing, one team winning, the scores of one team. Yeah, so there was a lot of that in our ladder bracket, or the final week of HeroesCCL round robin play. But still, 5% off the core. A win condition is set for WildHeart Esports if they can advance through that bottom lane and go core. Now, pushing up very far in mid, I wonder if we see a flank coming out from Oxygen. Don't know if they have a Wisp. There is going to be Lunara checking. So Wisp into the bush. Blaze to clear things out, and Zergling backs away. This feels like Tomb, where it's just like one wrong play from either side could be GG.
Yeah, but this time there's no boss to fight over or to throw over. Because twice, Oxygen quote-unquote gave away the boss and said, we'll kill them in the aftermath of it, in the distraction of it. And it's been a good play. One time boss got a keep and a few % on the core. And one time the boss got nothing, like one tower.
Yeah,
it's not an attack. It's not an attack tool anymore when you can't push alongside with it. So it's definitely something to keep in mind in Storm League as well, that you don't always have to stand on the point and win it. Oxygen maneuvered. And here's the thing, right? When you're down in structures and you're fighting over the middle of the map, you have a quicker route to killing structures. There's an inherent combat mechanic in being in an equal state where you're down in structures, because you have a much easier way to kill the forts.
Oh, Hogger's going to be having his shockwave interrupted right there, and that's a wailing arrow from Sylvanas. Very early in Sister Healing does have the Farseer's Blessing actually going out as well, but here comes the fight continuing as Bad Benny dives in, 7-sided strike. That's Hogger with the no control. Hogger very, very low. He's trying to no control to find the kill, but he cannot do so. Kerrigan does get that right there. She looks for the Primal Grasp and can't land it onto Murden as he dwarf tosses away. Another late game kill, huge for the side of Oxygen Esports. Blaze rushes to top lane. You see Sylvanas and Kruk trying to go to bottom. I don't think the channel will work out time-wise for Oxygen Esports. So what they want to do, take a fight 4v4, and they're going to find a big burrow immediately onto Haben. On the top of our screen, Hazuov's taking a lot of damage as well. Hazuov's might go down here. That's a cleanse from Yasu. Kerrigan gets onto the bottom lane. Kerrigan looking for the kill, lands it, but the Chrysalis buys a moment. This might have been the last few plays necessary, because here comes the big, bad Dragonite. And what does Oxygen do? Do they go for the throat?
They go knock knock. How much damage does it do into
1,000.
structures? It's going to do 1,044. A keep has 20,000 health. That's 20 hits. That means they definitely can't go for core, I would say. Oxygen gets a keep here and backs off. They also have a little bit of catapult pressure top. It's not too much to be concerned about. Big combo by Kerrigan. Gets 2.
Cocoon, Sundering, that's a shockwave from Hogger as well. Anubarak has to burrow charge away, and Yasu comes in with some cleansing dashes. Does have the 11-sided strike at level 20, and Sylvanas, 15 seconds. I'm looking at her death timer specifically, because when she comes back in, that might be the time for Oxygen Esports to leave. We're 22 minutes into this Dragonshire map. Kick onto the Murden will push him away. Dragonite continuing to slash its way through this keep, and I think, Grubby, you called it perfectly. Keep goes down, and Oxygen retreats.
I think you do one more kick on someone, and then you leave. But he's choosing not to kick. Maybe they kick less at pro play because it can be manipulated too much. Like if you kick Murden, he jumps over, gets an engage, or what? Like I don't know. Sylvanas has like a self cleanse with the E. It just ends up being a waste of time and DPS.
You also, literally, Justin actually messaging saying you also take a lot of damage while kicking because of the wind-up and everything like that, too. Because I think, actually, can I see the wind-up on it? It's, after a short delay is what the tooltip says. All right, very informative on that. Yeah, I was rambling about that yesterday during some casting as well. I was just like, man, you know, some tooltips read one way and some tooltips read completely the opposite, or another way, but they still kind of read in the same way. It's just the way that they organize the information. Anyways, bottom lane siege camp. WildHeart.
They just took siege camp. I wonder where they are.
I wonder where the enemy is.
Yeah, they're still there.
So, Parity has been found on the map, though. It's 2-2. Oh, wait, hold on. That's a Dwarf Toss in. That's going to be a Shockwave out as well, not connecting Yasu with some of these dashes. We have a Cocoon onto the Rhaegar in the back line, who is going to get the Ancestral healing out now. The seven-sided strike will go through. Farseer's Blessing getting that splash, as we have Blaze coming out of the bunker, getting Chain CC'd down to 50% of his HP, but Kerrigan and friends want to continue chasing in. That's going to be a lot of damage onto Haben. He pops the Avatar Rewind as well. A Primal Grasp will grab the Murden, so does a stun from Bad Benny, but it's actually Bad Benny who goes down to the Hogger. That's a lot of damage onto Zergling, though. A trade will be had. Lunara goes down. Is this enough to end?
Nope. No, it is not. It is not enough to end. It's enough to take map control, defend Bruiser, take your own Bruiser, take the neutral Bruiser, and then start to be in a good position vision-wise for the next objective. This was neat. If Hogger survived, you might go core there. And it was a really good no control. And there is no control over how you use no control. So, you know, fine. But then he also spun forward. He misread the situation. Not for the first time, Zergling a little bit out of sync with the rest of his team.
They've been getting scary low right there, as this that was a really good cleansing dash, actually stops the value of the Sundering Stormbolt into the bush. Rewind from Murden. He wants Copen. The bunker comes down from Blaze. He gets out on the far side, the bunker creating a little bit of terrain, and Copen, he's out of here.
So, actually, Oxygen really outperformed the prediction. They stole Bruiser. They managed to keep top lane pressure. They managed to keep vision in mid and top, all while being 3v5.
Yeah.
That's probably a small misplay from WildHeart, and not having enough people top quickly enough. Avatar, just because he's scared, he's alone. He's alone right now. Rhaegar is the furthest away from him. However, the turn does happen. Bad Benny dodges a shockwave. Zergling goes in. Can they get an Uberak? He has no burrow charge right now.
He already popped the rewind. That was Cocoon popped as well. No control will confirm that kill right there. This might be the beginning of the end right now. We do have a top lane keep falling, but I don't think WildHeart's concerned about that. They want Dragonite, and they want to go core.
Yeah, keep doesn't matter.
Wait, mid?
You get the DK. Yeah,
I saw Kerrigan. I was... Wait, are they going to try backdoor core?
I mean, they wanted to, but they were going to get dismounted. Only Lunara could not get dismounted, and they wanted to not show, but there's also no time to waste, so they're just going to go for it. This is more of a... I mean, why are they even fake hearthing? You can't. Just go for it. Mason Blaze, what?
I think they're like, okay, Dragonite gets this. We don't want to lose to potential cheese. So I think they're like, okay, the Dragonite will confirm it. We do see 2%, 4 or 5, couple percent off the core. Sylvanas is with the... Yeah, that's okay. Well... Hey,
they wanted the kills. That's why they did it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it ain't a quick 3-0. We're heading to a map number 4 here, as WildHeart does take map number 3 here on Dragonshire. Really, really tense map. I actually feel like Oxygen could have closed that out, but it's just a couple blunders here and there, and it was WildHeart who take the map, and they continue in the series. We could potentially see those 10 games today. I know Twitch chat wants those, but of course, let's get Justing back into the mix, because I know Twitch chat loves you for breaking down everything for us.
Let's get into it. Heck yeah. Thanks,
Heck yeah.
Twitch chat. I love Twitch chat too. But so we've got a very similar vibe to the first two games, where it kind of felt like WildHeart was going to run out of steam again. They were going to take the early game lead and then kind of drop it. But this game they held on to it a lot better than the previous one. You had Oxygen not getting the same types of picks that they were getting in the first two games. It felt like a lot of the advantage that Oxygen was getting was because of those huge picks that they would just kind of randomly get, sort of things they shouldn't be allowed to have. They had only one in this game that really felt kind of random, which was the mid pick onto Haben when they get the DK and they get that sneaky pick with the death brush, where Haben, not expecting that, just gets one shot. But other than that, it didn't feel like Oxygen really getting the same type of value from their comps, from their pick comp that they'd gotten in the previous games. I kind of expected once Nick got his Q quest online in the early game, things to really turn up a bit. But that was not the case. So it really just felt like in a straight 5v5, WildHeart just won every single time, mostly through a sustain advantage, while Yasu on the Monk gets a lot of value for those picks. If those picks don't come through before a fight in a straight 5v5, the amount of healing that the Rhaegar puts out alongside the level 20 Ancestral is just way too much to match for the comp with the Monk. The Monk healing, even with the healing totem at level 4, which you guys talked about, not nearly enough to make up for that. And the only fight that Oxygen was really able to win late game was where he did end up wasting the Ancestral a little bit too early, expecting a one-shot that didn't come, and then they fought through that. That was the only fight that really felt even close in the late game. And my MVP for this game has got to be Mason Blaze on the Thrall. I've given him a lot of praise for playing the ranged quite well, but in this game he played the Thrall impeccably. I was worried that he was going to be a target for the side of Oxygen with their comp with lots of dive. That was not the case. He positioned very intelligently. This was the pick I talked about where Haven just, you know, wandering into the brush, just gets randomly deleted by 4 members. Just smart, kind of just sneaky plays coming out from Oxygen. Here you have the Sundering in a 4v4 at the start where you don't expect them to even engage the fight, but you have the engage from WildHeart. Zergling does manage to respawn and join the fight to make it a 5v5, but this started as a 4v4. That was the reason why Oxygen was so caught off guard by the Sundering that came out from Mason Blaze at the start of that. That's why they were able to get this engage, is because Oxygen lost that in what was basically a 5v4. Then here you have Weary Day getting dove into the backline. This is the benefit of that Monk. But then you have in the sustained fights that we could see after this, the Ancestral, the chain heals just too much. Bad Benny on the Anubarak, not nearly tanky enough to survive these compositions, whereas Haben on the Murden felt very comfortable. And that Anubarak being squishy, Bad Benny being a little bit picked out here at the end, was kind of the downfall here for the side of Oxygen. When Anubarak goes in, he's committed. He needs to force that fight, and he needs to win that. Like, you need to just force the fight quickly and get it over with, and as soon as the fight drags on even a little bit, which is gonna almost always happen against the Rhaegar with the Ancestrals, it's just impossible. So, well played by WildHeart, especially Mason Blaze on the Thrall, and we'll see if that's gonna give them the momentum shift, be able to make the reverse sweep happen, because, I mean, they looked really strong in the last game. I think the draft felt more comfortable for them. So I'm excited to see if they can keep it up.
I mean, I had said to put away the brooms and put them in the janitor's closet, but it looks like WildHeart did find where the brooms are, and they might be the one shuffling the way into that reverse sweep potential. Let's find out where we're going to for map number 4, because we've got that information ready for all of you at home and all of you at the Wisdom Gaming Studios. God, you know, I don't know if it can be done today, but maybe someone who's working over at the studio, maybe we can get like a live feed sent to our director so we can maybe like throw that up on the screen at some point. I don't know, it'd just be really cool. Anyways, we're going to be heading to Towers of Doom. This will be the map choice of WildHeart Esports, as Oxygen, the losing side, has opted in for first pick priority. Grubby, thoughts on Towers of Doom? Personally, I love this map. That's my thoughts.
I'm glad you asked. I recently had a little bit of a get-together with HazuOps where we compared... Yep. Invited him on stream and we kind of talked about this and that, some tips for different maps. And I learned a lot from him because guess what? My worst 2 map win rates are Towers of Doom and Warhead Junction. Guess what the 2 best map win rates are for HazuOps? You guessed it, it's Warhead Junction and Towers of Doom. Now, Warhead is not part of the CCL at this time, but Towers of Doom is. So let's say that's his best map win rate, at least. And so I was interested, of course, in his approach for this map and his understanding and feelings of the map, because everyone views maps differently. And if my win rate is so much worse, I must be drafting poorly. So he was like, okay, it's all about the mid-wave. And that surprised me, to be honest, because I'm always thinking it's all about the double bottom sappers, it's all about the bottom fort control, boss don't matter that much, top sappers don't matter that much, and then you get a double laner that soaks top, goes mid, soaks mid, and you've got 4 people AFK bot. That's how most people play it in Storm League, right?
That's what I do, Dahaka, top mid rotation, the rest of the team pushes bottom.
But and I guess we have seen this before in CCL, but like it just didn't commit to my long-term memory for self-application as well. He said it's all about mid-wave. Mid-wave offers a lot of valuable XP. It gives you the confidence of how your oppo is rotating because of the vision it gives. The lane is kind of narrow, so when your wave pushes to the enemy gate, you've got information at their gate, and there's no way to go from bot to or from mid or bot to top without passing by your own gate. You have to go all the way around past the backline bell towers.
And that's
so
just
by clearing by clearing mid as like these 3 wingman in the middle, the 3 members that go around on the map, go top, go bot, you get the information and you get the confidence to do top lane ganks the enemy cannot see coming easily.
Well, Justin, it's all about mid apparently, Justin. Do you agree? Just kidding.
Yeah,
I just want to know your...
it's all about Blaze as well. That's kind of my expectation here. But we haven't seen any Dahaka. The mid control is a big deal on a lot of the maps. That's why You used to see a lot more than we do now, a lot of just really scrappy level 1s where you had a full-on 5v5 mid, just because getting that priority from the first wave is so valuable to be able to bully the enemy off the rotation and be able to know where everyone's going. Because yeah, it creates that unpredictability. But Blaze picked up with the Hogger banned out, so that's kind of the adaptation coming out from Oxygen. They've been getting Blaze literally every game, and it's felt like it's a bit of a problem for WildHeart outside of the last game. Hogger banned out now, so Dahaka available, Urel available, so we'll see whether WildHeart looks to prioritize that. They probably won't, considering that they didn't before. And we see Sylvanas again for WildHeart, so some things not changing for both teams. You have the Sylvanas, and you have the Blaze. I'm expecting Oxygen to hold their tank pick this time. Anubarak really feels just so risky to pick. He's not nearly as tanky as the other meta tanks right now. If you're looking to go that style, I think the Varian did a lot better of a job at it for Bad Benny on Tomb. So I'd expect them to wait on the tank pick and just pick a normal ranged. It's the Hanzo.
Yeah, I actually neither like Varian nor Anubarak into triple frontline. For Anubarak, he dies. Varian doesn't die, but he can only lock down one person. And with 3 frontlines, they're going to cover for each other. They're going to CC for each other. I think Varian is the ideal tank when you're against multiple backline that now cannot kill him easily. And where he's kind of the only frontline to a degree that plays front to back. And he ends up being really, really tanky. And he can take down the 1 or 2 frontline for the opponent. So I'm hoping Oxygen doesn't go for Varian, doesn't go for Anubarak, if WildHeart goes triple frontline. And what tank would work? Murden and Diablo are taken. What would you go for then?
Garrosh. Start chopping wood, man. Start spinning to win. Decimate them. Reduce their damage. Reduce their healing with body check. Just give a self-cleanse to yourself. No, realistically, actually, as you were talking about all this, like, my brain kept going, pick Garrosh, because so much of WildHeart also, it's a clumpy, like, the way they've been playing is very clumpy. Like, we were talking earlier about Mephisto. This right here is gonna be, this would be great, I think, still for Garrosh. Yeah. Rhaegar wants to dive in and bite butts. Murden wants to dive in with Dwarf Toss to get the heavy impact. Thrall wants to be in there and jump around. So I think Decimate would be strong. Warlord's Challenge could be huge, pairing into the Blaze, pairing into the Hanzo with the Dragon's Arrow as well to get that huge AoE stun, or even Dragon Strike for just the AoE damage on the ground. So that's at least where I'm sitting with this. I'd really, really like the Garrosh for the side of Oxygen Esports, and they're gonna go for it. I like this. They're listening to us here, Justing, but of course, we gotta get you to break down everything for this draft, because we got one more pick, but I'm sure you got a lot of thoughts here for Towers of Doom.
Yeah, the Junkrat is very peculiar here, so they're gonna be relying heavily on Hasuabs playing the Hanzo to be the tank killer for the team. Murden, extremely tanky, so Junkrat will do almost no damage to him. They do have the CC combo now, so that's kind of what they're relying on, is just stacking CC between the Garrosh and the Junkrat, and the Andu and the Blaze. Okay, so this is where things get weird for WildHeart. I'm not... not sure if I love this here. I think that Vikings in general are really, really strong on towers. Like, this has got to be Vikings' best map right now. Having that amount of just control over the objective when it's always spread out, and now having a 4-man with Sylvanas to be able to just push a lane, that's very strong. They don't have one member, though, that can easily clear the wave outside of Rhaegar for WildHeart. So if they want to just focus on one lane, and they might be a little bit getting pushed on the side lanes, you don't necessarily have to just match the Vikings in a 4v4. You can kind of just split push against them if you want. So Oxygen has the ability to just put a Junkrat into the 4-man bottom, because that's kind of one of the goalie heroes that I've talked about, is just someone that you can't really siege into a Junkrat very easily. Blaze, to some extent, kind of does the same thing for himself. So Oxygen can't really kill the Vikings super easily, but they do have 2 heroes that can defend lanes quite well. And then you could have someone like a Hanzo and a Garrosh just roaming around looking to pick the Vikings if they want, or looking to just kind of fight against WildHeart. So this isn't exactly where I'd expect to see the Vikings, but it's hard to bet against them, and there's not a lot of tank killing for Oxygen, so we'll see if Oxygen can, or if WildHeart can take it. I think their draft's slightly better.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and introduce these teams. We got Oxygen in the blue, Bad Benny on the Garrosh, Hazuabs on the Junkrat, Nick on the Hanzo. A little bit of a note right there, because usually we see the... Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yasu on the Anduin and Copen on the Blaze. Over on the side of WildHeart, we got Ivy Tings on the Sylvanas, Mason Blaze to play the Thrall, Haven on the Murden, Weary Day on the Rhaegar, and Zergling to play the Olaf, Balog, and Eric. The Vikings is, like, cool and everything, but I honestly feel like they I feel like they are going to get punished. And the reason being is that I think HoTS has such a great idea of how the Vikings work, especially on a map like this, so he might be able to kind of assist in some of the shot calling and what the Vikings will do and how to maybe counteract that. But we'll have to see how things do unfold. I think Oxygen could take it. I think we'll see a 3-1 series here, and we'll see WildHeart fall into the lower bracket. What do you think? What are you thinking here, Grubby, for this map?
Yeah, I think Vikings Sylvanas is kind of this tried and true cheese composition, but you cannot win Towers of Doom by cheese because structures don't last. Like, structure kills don't last.
Yeah.
I love Garrosh pick here into the triple melee, but I do think that there is a chance. Well, there is a chance. Okay, let's see. How do you approach any fight? You don't catch Junkrat, you don't catch Hanzo, generally. You catch Garrosh over and over and over. You're gonna mind control him, you're gonna root him, you're gonna stormbolt him, slow him, and so on. Now, there will be a leap of faith to save him once, and then that can be followed up with the Sundering. Actually, you know what? The more I just babble and babble and babble, I think when I look at fights, I think I can see WildHeart do quite well in them, actually.
Okay. Well, Zergling will save his Olaf. He's not going to see a Viking fall just yet. No quarter kill or experience for the side of Oxygen in that, but we do have the friendly toss onto Hazu, a toss away onto Haben. Hazuabs gets the concussion mine on the ground. Mason Blaze a little bit low here. Want to point out we also did have that body check pickup at level 1 for the Garrosh, which is going to be a great way to deal with Weary Days Ancestor healings, because I got to be honest, that last game, the last map, those Ancestrals were just so critical for the WildHeart crew to sustain through a lot of the late game team fights. So with the body check having the healing reduction of 30%, and then you can get the no, it's not double up, that's a different talent, but you can get the upgrade on body check at level 20, which if memory serves me right, it either changes your healing reduction from 30 to 70 or 30 to 75. It's somewhere in that range, but either way, Bad Benny taking a lot of damage right now. Concussion Mine is going to knock Haben over the wall, but he gets the Dwarf tossed away. There's a leap of faith. We are seeing players just being bounced around on the map. Bad Benny actually steps in to help out his ally, and over in the top lane, we actually have Blaze, who invaded the camp the Vikings were, I think, either working on or near, and does kill the Eric, does get the camp, and Blaze finding value in this top lane. Oxygen with a pretty good start here. They're pulling ahead in experience, which is not something you expect from a team up against a Viking crew.
Well, kind of early game, I have noticed that is happening a little bit more and more. Yeah, because it's like Vikings thrive in chaos. In early game, there isn't that much chaos. There's no lapsing concentration. Balog goes down again. Garrosh gets threatened a lot. That's 4 versus 4 shots. Yeah, I have seen this more often. I think Vikings thrive in the mid game. At level 20, it can be tough because they're not as good of a team fighter as another hero, usually. And at level 1, it can be tough because there's not enough distraction. But I feel like Vikings really shine between level 10 to 19.
Okay, we'll see if the Vikings will be able to bring things back in that range. Do want to point out Sylvanas did go into the possession at level 4, and Eric, he's going to be so swift, so brave. He's got that permanently increase Eric base movement speed by 10%. As long as Eric is moving, he heals for 43 scaling HP per second. This is actually something we used to see on Sky Temple, where Eric would be thrown onto a temple and the player would actually make like a box with the shifting ability of like the shift queuing with clicks, and so they just make a box and they have Eric run in circles, and so he doesn't die around the objective, which is really cool. But Haben almost going down right here, gets the dwarf toss away. Concussion Mine almost setting that up. I do want to point out Nick's level 1 is complete. He's got that auto attack speed upgrade from Redemption. Also want to point out, if Nick dies, he only loses 3 stacks. It's not a full reset on the quest. It's much like Wizened Duelist from Greymane. You only lose a couple, not the whole thing.
Yeah, thank God, because...
Oh god, yeah, that would be awful.
It already feels quite punishing sometimes for Hanzo to lose those stacks. But it is relatively free and good here to go for that one. Didn't get the level 4 bonus attack range, which you only get if you first hit a minion. Balog goes down for the 3rd time. Balog feeder report. In the meantime, WildHeart, yeah, they're fine. Like they still have mostly got all XP collection.
Another Olaf save right there. Haben goes in. He's going to land the Stormbolt onto Blaze. No bunker available. Leap of Faith. That's going to be a, as I like to call it on my stream, a Kaimo cleanse right there. I have a friend that I like to harass and bother here on a CCL by naming a bad cleanse after him.
Yeah, so like, You cleanse, but they die anyway because it was too late.
Yeah, when you leap of faith someone and they die either when the leap starts or in midair, or basically the leap goes through, but they still die. It's a Kaimo cleanse.
Okay. Right.
He's a good human being. I just like giving him a hard time. But 10s are around the corner. 10s are right around the corner for these teams, and this might be where the Vikings start to thrive. You pointed out the Vikings' experience is starting to come back in their favor. Granted, of course, we had a full heroic kill just a second ago, so that does bolster that experience even further for WildHeart Esports.
Yeah, they killed Balog like three times, and then you kill Blaze once, and you're suddenly on even XP.
Yeah.
Minion XP difference is a big part of that. Looking at the minion XP right now, it is actually dead even. Go figure. Really good job by Oxygen.
Okay. They didn't even have 10s, but they're still coming in for this fight. That's a Riptire coming out from the Junkrat. He's going to try and jump this over the wall. The arrow from Hanzo does connect onto Rhaegar on the backline perfectly. Garrosh does have the spin with the Decimate, sundering from the Thralls. We have the Avatar from Murden. Leap of Faith comes through onto Bad Benny, who's going to try and back away. The bunker comes down from the Blaze. That's going to be another Balog death right there, and that'll be the first full kill for the side of Oxygen Esports. Circling, chasing onto Hanzo. That's another Viking to fall, but look at this, Eric. He's going to respawn them all, and Eric should be able to get the channel in the bottom. I think Zergling, yeah, that's going to be 8 shots because the rotation will be slowed by Mason Blaze and friends.
Oh my god. Did WildHeart land it like that?
Eric, why didn't you get the channel? He started, laning. Anyways.
Oh yeah, he probably did an accidental spin to win, which interrupted it or something. Yeah, he did it again!
He did it again!
He's just taunting them. He's like, I can channel this anytime.
Oh, no, but that's rough.
Think back a minute. WildHeart pushes top.
Yeah.
And then they got engaged upon. But why are they top? It's because they know that they can play again and send Vikings mid and bot in time while slowing down the entire enemy team. This is very smart tactical play when you have Vikings.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that was 200 IQ because I was sitting there and I was like, oh my god, WildHeart, they're going to get flanked, they're going to die in top. And then I see this Viking play and I'm like, that's beautiful. Like, letting the 2 Vikings die on purpose just to be able to have that value. But another priority onto a Viking, that will be Olaf going down. Still, these are quarter kills, which still yield a quarter amount of experience. I'm actually going to look really quickly. We have 1,149 heroic experience to the side of Oxygen and 699 for the side of WildHeart Esports, so you can see kind of the difference a little bit. Those Viking kills do add up slowly but surely. As we get into another objective phase, this will be in the bottom of the map.
Circling has been losing those Vikings. Keep in mind that if Copen can threaten a Falstad's life, certainly he can threaten a Viking. So he is a very dangerous, scary Blaze. Okay, let's see. Are they gonna get Copen?
Bunker comes down. Weary Days on the far side, gets in and out of the bunker, in and out of the bunker. Is there a jet propulsion? Stormbolt will connect. Mason Blaze comes up here. Bunker still up, but the arrow from downtown. Full duration on the stun. And,
Hanzo is like, I'll point you in the direction of where they are. Here, see? They're not moving, see? And Oxygen is like, right, but we don't really want to go there.
Yeah. So the top lane bell tower is converted for WildHeart. We do have Oxygen in position to be able to grab this objective. I think Bad Benny should be able to slow down Haben. We do have Eric who will stall things out a little bit. That might be... Nope. Okay, I was going to say it might be long enough, but I think Bad Benny and friends should be able to zone back WildHeart Esports. And no, the channel's canceled. The fight continues, sundering out from the Thrall. Mind control from Sylvanas.
Stormbolt not connecting with Garrosh there. He most likely wouldn't have died anyway. And the win was right there. It does have Leap of Faith available. He's starting to channel the objective once again. Haben jumps out. It's a give up by WildHeart on the objective. Equal points. No, they have top 4.
Yeah. So it's 28-29, but still a very, very close game. This game's been... I think this is going to be the motif of Towers of Doom. I think it's going to be a lot of just this trading in core HP, but I mean, of course, now it's a little bit ahead for WildHeart. As I'm looking at top lane, we do have Blaze to go up there and make sure that these sappers don't jump over the wall.
And can that absence of Blaze be utilized by WildHeart? Can they take their own sapper and hard invade? They see a Junkrat trap. They see that the cap had already been made by Oxygen. And Zergling is gonna probably lose Balog again. Zergling died 6 times as Hogger last game. He had a lot of good moves, but also some unnecessary deaths.
Yeah.
And while Vikings don't have the same survivability, he's not looking 100% in top shape right now. And I say that with so much respect of everything that
Sure.
Zergling has achieved.
I mean, it's our job to be critical in these moments as we're watching these games, and of course, you know, there's pressure. It is playoffs, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of factors in all of this, but it is a point to make. That is a mind control not connecting onto Hazuobs. We do have the Sundering that does connect, and the Concussion Mine doesn't save. Another arrow narrowly passing by from Nick, and another bell tower converted. You know, I was saying that it's a very even game consistently, but this might be where WildHeart starts to pull ahead, as they have 3 bell towers. They might try and go for the barrage, but I think Blaze will be able to convert top lane with the help of Anduin. The Vikings are zoning things back effectively, but yeah, this will be top lane reconverted back over to the side of Oxygen Esports. So no barrage to be had.
What
Garrosh
lane?
bottom?
He's being corralled like a sheep by sheepdogs. Except, I don't think you're supposed to bite the sheep. That's a bad sheepdog. Bad dog. WildHeart take down Garrosh. They get the channel. Not the overabundance of greed here. Holding just long enough for the... Wait, how many shots was that?
5.
Yeah.
The bottom lane bell tower
like,
was... Yeah, exactly.
could have helped for 2 seconds, but they didn't want to risk that Oxygen takes down mid forward or interrupts Vikings before that. Overall, still really, really fine for WildHeart. They have a nice little lead.
This actually feels like this feels like the rough spot of Towers of Doom, where you're just rotating and clearing towers. The enemy rotates to a different lane, gets a bell tower. It just feels like this constant. You're just picking up the pieces of the game, and I want to know, and maybe this is a question for Justing at the end. How do the members of Oxygen even come back into this? Are they going to be able to come back into this? Boss is taken. It just feels like everything is closing around the side of Oxygen. They're almost running out of air.
This is why oh, nice one. I see what you did. This is a classical Sylvanas Vikings, where you are using that soak everywhere with the black arrow to get those really good pushes. It actually super expedites level 20 for both teams. Constantly getting those bell towers. Zergling gets interrupted. A little bit of an invade. This is an easy give up. Lay down by WildHeart. They don't need to take these fights now. You asked how does Oxygen get back in? It's to bait WildHeart into fights like these. But WildHeart gives it up.
Sylvanas, black arrows, the Sapper camp getting 1 cleared out. I think that was a spin from Garrosh just now. He's using it on the wave as well. But it's a very, very low cooldown on that heroic. Sappers go through the top lane. I thank you, Buds, for catching that. I wasn't even watching the map for that one. But yeah. Vikings still just getting that pressure around the map, and this is okay. So Hazuob's looking for the channel here, but it's at least 5 shots into the core of Oxygen. Actually, is it 10? I'm looking at Thrall on the bottom. Is it 15? Is this gonna put the core on 1 HP?
Oh my god, that's 10 shots right here. That's boom. 6 health.
Junkrat's getting delayed out.
Okay, play again for Balog.
Right there. Eric should be able to get.
Eric
won't. No, he was A moving, I think, near the Blaze, and that was pulling the targeting. But either way, the shots do go out. It's 6-26 in core HP. Big Riptire from Junkrat. Weary Day low here, sundering out from the Thrall into the backline. No 20 talent here on either side just yet. That's a Blaze to fall. No bunker available for 54 seconds. Hey, been able to back away. Have the members of WildHeart found their stride here in this best of 5 series? It's looking like it here on Towers of Doom. The brooms might be out. It's not over just yet, but it's looking like this is a swan song, if you will, from Oxygen. WildHeart are just shredding through the enemy defenses.
Wow, this was so well played by Zergling and everybody else. Zergling bought so much time with his Vikings. He played again in the right spot so he doesn't get cancelled by Blaze's jet propulsion. Could have done the interrupt, but instead decided to go for the flank. After the little bit of a fight, he focused on the fight. Let's be clear, that's a choice. It's not just using his cooldowns in order to try to get the interrupt there on Junkrat. And then that flank, beautiful. Hit Hanzo with the stun, triple spin to win, and 2 auto attacks as Hanzo was cyber agilitying away. Natural agilitying away.
Barrage has begun. The Raven Lord will send his skull missiles across the battleground. Only 4 shots remain. The bell tower cannot be converted in time. Riptire mitigated or stopped by the Sundering of Thrall. And this right here is just a waiting game. WildHeart Esports. I made the joke they went to the janitor's closet and got their brooms out, and it looks like they have. They are mopping up Oxygen Esports, and with one more shot from the Gravekeeper, the Raven Lord will fall, and it's WildHeart who find parity in our best of 5 series. Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading to a map number 5. GG.
Wow, very, very well played here by WildHeart. The 2 games that they've used Thrall so far have gone a lot better for them. They adapted to the meta that basically was being shown by Oxygen, triple frontline. They adapted it well, and yeah, it's just it's really, really good. Like they're coming back here into the series. It's 2-2 now. Now keep in mind it's a double elimination bracket.
Yes.
Whoever wins the next map goes to the winner bracket, which is a guaranteed top 3 placement in the tournament. If you drop to the lower bracket, you have one more chance to lose a series. Well, you have one more chance to make it through, and if you lose another series, you're out and you're in 4th place. So with this victory, this next map win, you will decide whether you'll be guaranteed top 3 or you remain in the top 4, all to play for that you already are right now.
Well, we got Justin back into the mix to break everything down for us. That was Towers of Doom.
So something that is important to point out here is the siege damage for Garrosh and Anduin. Those 2 heroes basically contribute nothing to siege, and into a composition of Vikings, you could tell that they were a little lost. Combined, they did about 32,000-ish damage of siege, compared to a Lone Sylvanas doing 100k or Blaze doing 130k. It's not even close. So you have these heroes like that also did very low hero damage, just didn't have much impact in general, and that's kind of what happens when you have these heroes like a tank or a support that are completely dedicated to that type of thing. Also want to point out quickly that Thrall, played by Mason Blaze, top damage for their team, and just the difference in damage of the teams. It felt like WildHeart completely stomped Oxygen in that game, and the points of the shots of the bell towers reflects that. But look at the damage. It's not even close. WildHeart doing significantly less damage, but winning the game through macro, playing to their strengths, something that's really, really cool to see, and the Vikings just completely enable that. You have just a good adaptation by WildHeart playing to their strengths. I think the main things just in the draft that made a big difference is having the Vikings, having something that enables WildHeart to win through macro, as it has felt like, outside of getting picked a couple times, just somewhat randomly, WildHeart in general has had a better plan coming into the games, has had better macro coming into the games, but has just lost in a lot of the teamfight execution. And so here, being able to have the Vikings, where Zergling can kind of command his team around in the macro and be able to get value all the time from it. Zergling's name is from StarCraft, so he's all right at commanding three units. That's a relatively low amount. I'm sure Grubby would be familiar with that feeling, but to me it's a burden to play all 3 Vikings, but for Zergling I'm sure it's pretty easy. So he's experienced at that. He's good at the shot calling in the macro, so him on something that can do that so well and control the flow of the game is really important. Another thing that's extremely important to point out is Mason Blaze on the Thrall. Having the engage from the Sundering is very valuable. It has felt at times that there's been a little bit of a disconnect between Haben at times and the rest of WildHeart with the engage. And having Mason, who is a player that I can't really hype up enough, I think he's just all around a superstar player. I think he's like one of the most well-rounded players. He can play all the roles really well. He's like the ultimate flex. Seeing him play the Thrall and be able to set up so many of these picks for the team with the Sunderings into the roots, setting up his own route, has been really impressive. And then to do the top damage on top of that on Thrall, even in games where he might be a hero that is a sort of a focus for the enemy team, is really impressive. And this was just WildHeart playing to their strengths, playing the macro, completely running them around the map. This felt like a game of just cat and mouse. It was WildHeart being just a ton of little mice running all over the place, being a bunch of mice chewing down on the towers while Oxygen's all over the place struggling to keep up. Heroes like Anduin and Garrosh don't do anything in that situation. There was the times, like we'd seen before this, where Bad Benny gets caught bottom by himself because he's just trying to find value somewhere on the Garrosh. It doesn't feel like there's much that he can do on the heroes like the Anduin or the Garrosh that don't have macro contributions. So it's nice to see WildHeart throughout the series adapting their meta, doing the triple melee composition, giving Mason Blaze some engage tools, giving Zergling some macro tools. And we'll be curious to see if they're able to stick with that playstyle and actually pull out the reverse sweep here in the playoffs. It's super exciting because I mean, for both these teams, this is the most important match any of them have had so far. So it's cool if we do see it go to a reverse sweep, but a game 5, I'll be happy with that.
I mean, to open up our playoff weekend with a reverse sweep would be really, really cool here on HeroesCCL. But of course, as always, before we get into this 5th and final map and our first best of 5 of the day, yeah, we have another one after this one, we are going to take a short little break. In that break, I encourage you to hit exclamation point prize pool. We're $35 away from $14,500. So if you'd like to push that prize pool further up, I encourage you to hit exclamation point prize pool to get yourself over to the match arena. As a reminder, the prize pool 100% goes to the players, with Wisdom adding in $10,000 at the end of the season. So first place will take 35% of the entire prize pool, period. No other divisions going out to anyone else. So just want to make sure I hit on that one really hard, exclamation point prize pool in chat. But when we come back, map number 5 in our first best of 5 of the day. Don't go anywhere. This is HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to all our friends watching at the Wisdom Studio in Mall of America. This is HeroesCCL playoff day number 1, and we're in our first best of 5 of the day. We've got Oxygen Esports versus WildHeart Esports, and of course, I am Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justing for this amazing 2 best of 5 series today. And of course, Grubby, what'd you get up to on the break, friend?
I argued with someone in Twitch chat.
Ew. Well, Twitch chatter, you're probably wrong, so there's that. Anyways, Justing, what'd you get up to, bud?
Are you sure? I don't think Twitch chat's ever wrong, but I was just walking around and playing with Pet and Springy. I had a Springy on my desk, but she's had enough of it, and she just hightailed out of here. But yep, not much.
I had the joy of.
I should have done that.
I had the joy of. I'm watching my neighbor's dog while they're out of town. He you know, I've watched him before. He's a good dog, but I forget what Copper does, and I looked in another room and he had taken all the cushions and thrown them on the floor and was like wedging himself between like the little daybed and the wall. It was adorable. I tried to take a photo, but he immediately got up. But either way, we got some more. We got a lot of friends here watching CCL and hanging out with us as well. So let's go ahead and find out where we're going to for map number 5 in this best of 5 series. And hey, we talked about at the top of the stream, we have not seen the members of Oxygen Esports on Infernal Shrines or Battlefield of Eternity. And as Battlefield's already banned out, we will have WildHeart choosing to take us to Infernal Shrines here. WildHeart is 2-0 on this map. No data. We have 0 data on Infernal Shrines, Oxygen Esports. From my understanding, they have not played this map a singular time. And so, at this time, it's now the true test. You better hold fast or expire. Right, Justin?
What does that mean? You're gonna expire?
Yeah, hold fast or expire. Like,
I've never heard that before. That's like a fruit meme? What is that?
Is it milk? Is it about curdled milk? Wait, is it about weekly rotation of grocery shopping? Bahamut.
Yeah. It's all those things. It's whatever you want it to be. Expire, as in the sense of like expire, like die.
Yeah, they need to hold fast.
If you hold fast, you don't die.
Yeah, if you hold fast, like you like hold fast, hold the line, sort of thing.
Like if you're in like a river and you're approaching the rapids and there's a waterfall and there's like one outcropping of a stone and a rock and you hold fast to it so you don't expire down the waterfall.
That's probably what it. Yeah, that's probably what it originated.
It's exactly that. That's
hold
exactly
on to the rock outcropping.
Or you could even say, if you go whitewater rafting, you could say hold fast to the raft so you don't get knocked off in the rapids. But let's talk about Infernal
Let's go
Shrines.
into whitewater drafting.
I like that a lot. That was I actually liked that a ton. That was very, very good. But we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're here into Infernal Shrines, map number 5 in this best of 5 series. The winner stays in the upper bracket and will go up against the winner of our matchup later on today of 30k versus Diamond Hands. The loser will go down to the lower bracket on Tournament Life, as we like to call it. That lower bracket still has potential for a run. As we're going through our bans here, Justin, pretty, standard bans that we've had so far, but a Sylvanas target ban finally coming out from Oxygen.
Yep, we have the Sylvanas ban, so WildHeart will not get that for a 5th time. And now the Blaze is the thing that has been prioritized by Oxygen. They've gotten Blaze every single game so far. We'll see if the trend continues and they take the Blaze here. Lucio is still available for the first time, I believe, and it will be locked up instantly by Yasuo. So now you have Blaze available, instant Blaze Tychus. Odin on this map is extremely strong. It also gives you the ability to play any other ranged hero. You don't need to play the Thrall for the percent damage. You have the option to go into things like the Mephisto. If they do draft a very melee-heavy composition for Oxygen, you have the ability to go in things like Junkrat now that you have a Tychus for that tank killing, that percent damage. And Odin on the Shrine is just extremely strong, so I'm liking the 1-2 from WildHeart. They've denied the Blaze. They've gotten the Odin. They do give over the Lucio, though, to Yasu, who's known for that pick.
Bad Benny also gets the Muradin as well, which is something that Haben's been prioritizing, and Haben's looked very good in the last couple games on the Muradin. A little shaky in map number 1, and the Anubrak in Tomb of the Spider Queen wasn't the strongest, but definitely making waves here on that Muradin. But if so much so that Bad Benny wants to steal away. We'll see what the tank priority is for WildHeart. One more ban coming through. Grubby, thoughts on the draft as we are getting into our second portion?
Wonder if they'll ban Thrall. It was instrumental in 2 of the victories so far. No, it's gonna be Tracer. Yeah, I guess Hanzo is a little vulnerable to Tracer. Like, it could be Tracer Anduin for light bomb delivery system. There could be Tracer and Malfurion for the regrowth following her wherever she goes. It could be quite good. So it's an interesting removal. But Hanzo is vulnerable to it, so let's see how that goes. Rhaegar Varian. Varian is good against double backline. I find him weaker against triple frontline because he cannot CC everybody, just one person. So let's see if Oxygen goes in with the big front lines.
2 more picks coming out from Oxygen. We're going to be having what coming out from them? They've already got a range assassin, a strong healer, a great tank, but it's Infernal Shrines. They feel like they could use a little more Shrine Clear. Tassadar will amplify that quite a bit. Hanzo does have Shrine Clear at level 4, explosive arrows, but I don't think you want to just be on that one. I also love the Dahaka pickup. I'm a little surprised here, Justin, at the lack of Dahaka we've seen today in bans and picks. I think this is the first Dahaka all game or all series, but there's your Mephisto. Yep. And Justin, gotta throw it over to you. Who do you think's gonna take this? I'm feeling like WildHeart reverse sweeps this with the Mephisto, honestly.
Yeah, I'm leaning into the WildHeart. I think the Odin from Tychus is extremely strong on the Shrine. It's just kind of a more reliable, better version of what the Tassadar will bring. You have the Tassadar who has level 20 wall, which is quite strong, but you have the Mephisto that should be able to get advantages before then. And Hanzo Tassadar is both really slow damage. Neither one of them has a good time of killing the Varian, so while they do have the Lucio to be able to counter the Varian taunt, Lucio himself has to be careful against the Varian, because if he's ever taunted, he's going to likely just get deleted. And you always have Lucio who can provide that save against the taunt, but the Varian should be pretty much invincible for Haben. Hanzo and Tassadar, not the duo of heroes that you want to be able to take down a very tanky tank like the Varian. Whereas on the other side, you have Muradin into Tychus, into Mephisto, into a lot of lockdown between the Blaze, the Rhaegar, the Varian. It's just a lot of CC. We might even see the AoE ultimate from Mephisto that is so powerful I don't even remember what it's called. Not the Durance, the other one. We might even see that for percent damage at level 20.
Consume souls!
Yeah,
the consumed souls. He might even consume their souls, so we'll see if that's the case. But I think WildHeart's comp is a little bit better, and they do have the momentum. I'm looking for a reverse sweep.
All right, we'll see if the brooms are out from WildHeart, but we got Oxygen in the blue, Bad Benny on the Muradin, Yasu on the Lucio, Hazuubs to play the Hanzo. Nick will be on the Tassadar, and Copen on the Dahaka. Over on the side of WildHeart Esports, Zergling on the Blaze, Mason Blaze to play the Mephisto, Haben on the Varian, Weary Day on the Rhaegar, and Ivy Tings on the Tychus. Consume Soul could be a pickup, but I feel like you gotta go into the cooldown reduction at 4 and 13 on the trait for the regeneration globes. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you can make it viable. And then at 13, you're giving up, what is it, Shard of Hatred, the splash damage auto attack, which is really good for Shrine Clear. But I'm sorry, Grubby, I cut you off. What are your thoughts on all this?
No, I was rudely cutting you off, so I wanted to hint into what you were saying. I just wanted to challenge your thought. You were talking about the CDR for Consume Souls, and you're looking at the duration, right? Yasu, you're looking... Oh, Weary Day! The 2 healers got mega threatened, but Yasu gets away. Weary Day goes down. Nice first blood there for Oxygen in just under a minute. Bahamut, you're looking at the cooldown, you're seeing 120 seconds or whatever it is, and you're saying that needs some help. Right? Yeah. I'm looking at the value of Consume Souls. We always joke about how it's not that good. So is it worth it to take 1 or 2 talents to bring it back quicker when it's not that good anyway? I feel like it's a glorified Tyrande Owl that hits all 5 members, shows them and slows them. And I think that's okay. It can be a finisher, but more often than not, it's not. It's just a scout. Yo, Bad Benny!
Aggression, my dude. That's a little too aggressive.
My dude!
The Haka tries to come in here, and Tychus, look at Ivy Tings on the bottom right of our screen. He is just standing still, peppering up the enemy. Well, I guess not peppering. He's Yeah, salting them.
But Benny says like, I wouldn't be jumping in here alone unless I had my whole team with me. So you better start running. And WildHeart is like, no, you don't. And he's like, shoot, they called my bluff.
Bad Benny might not be good at poker. We'd have to, he might not have the best poker face. I do want to point out, he jumped in with the Dwarf Toss, all of that kind of stuff. He went the 3rd wind at level 1, so there's no way he was going to get value from that. So it's a little surprising to look at the level 1 and see the aggressiveness, because usually that aggression is matched with the block stacks from level 1. But of course, I say this, and there's a Tychus who will just eat through those stacks immediately.
Yeah.
Mephisto can kind of poke those down as well. So it's probably more just a sustained tool to also make sure that Lucio doesn't have to just prioritize healing up Bad Benny. A ping goes out, a taunt will be there, a jet propulsion from Blaze. Bad Benny drops to 50%, gets the Dwarf Toss out, and the 30 armor.
Bruiser camp clear by WildHeart. They're gonna wait until probably about 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Oh, they're gonna go with the 2:46. There we go. Bruiser camp capped. On the other side, it's a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Oxygen trying to take that down as well. Tassadar, by the way, has got a bunch of beautiful builds. There's the Psystorm build.
I was kind of
There's the
expecting
auto
that.
attack build. And there's the Q build. I was expecting Psystorm. It's the safest, biggest range, mana, regeneration, and whatnot. He's going for a greater burst.
More burst ability.
And it's riskier.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's risky.
Oh, absolutely. Shock Ray goes out onto Mason Blaze, chunking him for a little bit. Actually, not even chunking, just tickling. As the objective phase, Mortar Punisher, you see that red gemstone in the center. Dahaka's split pushing, so it seems like Oxygen, at least when I look at the minimap, they're telegraphing to me that they do not want to get this objective, nor do they want Lucio to live. But Dahaka will split push in bottom lane, and he's going to try and close any sort of gap that's formed from these 3 kills with minion experience. But, WildHeart, they're playing this really good. But I will say some unforced errors from Oxygen early on are kind of shifting this to WildHeart, I feel.
Yep, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but there have been some communication errors. We had that in Towers of Doom. Some unfavored fights. Like the 1v4 Garrosh defense, the 3v5 Bad Benny jump in with the Muradin there. It may not be his personal decision per se.
Sure.
It's just how they cohesively hang together and play together. And, you know, picking Tassadar is pretty risque as well. I love Tassadar, but he's not picked often. And if we look at how many splash damage heroes there are, so who is more likely to win the shrine, we can see Hanzo with Q, Tassadar with W and Q, and Dahaka with the Dark Swarm. And Lucio and Muradin do nothing. Then you look at WildHeart, they have Mephisto, Blaze, Rhaegar, and Tychus, with Rhaegar being the key difference maker when you compare him to Lucio. So WildHeart is far more likely to win any even shrine fights, which means that Oxygen needs to get mega pickoffs or push outside of the objective. And then mistakes like they have made so far are less permitted.
Oh, and I think WildHeart's capitalizing on all these unforced errors and these mistakes and these gank rotations. I mean, it's a solid level lead. We'll have the 10 talents here advantage. Next Punisher will be in the bottom lane, going to be an Arcane Punisher as well. Double Impaler camp through mid is still chunking, or at least poking onto the fort over here. Bad Benny will clear things out, but while mid lane's being worked on, another camp to be grabbed. More pressure onto a tower, and this one, if the side of WildHeart can win the second objective phase, they'll be able to take down Fort guaranteed and work to a keep front gate. Now, I will make the sad statement for everyone. I'm sorry, it's Durance of Hate. No consume soul. He actually doesn't even have the cooldown reduction from level 4 either. He's just going to be going into the Lightning Nova build. So my expectation at level 20 is going to be the Mimicry. I don't think we see the something horror. I forget the upgrade name.
Unspeakable. That's why you couldn't remember and say it.
It was like revitalization earlier. I literally unspeakable horror got me.
Yep.
Oh, mid lane fort.
There is an interesting interaction with High Five of Lucio against the Durance of Hatred.
Okay.
Because if Lucio is very near the target that gets Duranced, he can High Five, cleanse, and save everybody. But if he's a bit later, because there's an outwards ripple effect, like a pebble in a lake for Durance, he will meet the ripple before he reaches the victim, essentially. And then he will get mid-High Five. He will get stopped, rooted, and likewise Duranced. And then the High Five goes on full cooldown on that hero, and you don't get the cleanse. So it's really tough to counterplay Durance. Lucio needs to be super close to the target. Durance has a range that is greater than Sergeant Hammer auto attack siege range. And it travels fairly fast. The only downside is the wind up.
Yeah.
So when Mephisto casts outside of vision, it's nearly impossible for Lucio to cleanse the target. Usually best everyone just gets away from the target that gets rooted, so that you don't get rooted as well. And that's a good isolation effect.
We're getting into another objective phase with 10 talents, all that good stuff in between. Do you want to jump into WildHeart comms? We haven't heard from them.
Yeah, let's do this.
In we go.
Yeah. Auto push.
Yeah.
We play the bottom wave. I'm gonna Odin once we got a lead, okay?
They just saw me. I'm
It's
gonna
Dragon Strike.
I'm gonna start this. I don't want the Hawk to clear this.
Oh, sorry. Shrine. They're stuck like on wave right now.
That's Murden's done.
Yeah. I stole a bunch over there.
Squad for the Dahaka dig from behind. Make sure we kite down.
It's okay.
I'm stunning Bed Bennett. Oh, never mind. That's a jump. No jump on Murden.
Let's go. Skulls.
Can we Odin soon? And then we can just hold through this. Unless they're giving.
I'm doing it now. They're probably gonna leave though.
I think you
Can
can
we-
go.
They're just full giving. They're full giving. Okay.
Oh, we got some. Never mind. I'm leaving.
Oh, we got someone. We're gonna lose top 4, but we should get at least spot wall.
I think I can stop in time.
Can we break keep wall?
Yeah, we might dig by this
He's
place
looking
right
to
now.
dig.
They don't
Maybe
have
it's bad now.
Can we push top? Or
Yo,
actually,
camp. Camp into no, not 3 camp. No.
I want to push top.
Top. And
Seems like the members of WildHeart are going to be leaning more into the macro play rather than looking to push with the objective. And I do like what they're doing here. They're going to open up the map even further. They're going to guarantee the bottom lane fort. Punisher will guarantee some damage under the keep front gate, but now priority through the top lane, because the assumption, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't had a top lane Punisher yet. It's been mid to bottom. The assumption is that it will go top for the next one. It could be in mid again, but either way, it is going to be that fort going down to Yasu. He does sneak it.
Whoa. Oh, Yasu, oh, close. I didn't like leaving the Punisher there.
Yeah.
They didn't get anything from top 4. They didn't even get the entire bottom wall. There's still a tower up.
Yeah.
You could have got some bottom keep damage. But at the same time, Oxygen was really fast to leave just one person below and send 4 top to do the actual defense of top 4. So credit where credit is due.
Some credit due. Top lane is the next objective. Frozen Punisher, 13 apiece for talent tiers, but we have a level lead for the side of WildHeart Esports. And I believe it's when the Punisher falls. I think it's 2 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes to the announcement. 2 minute 30 to contestation, if I'm not mistaken. I might be off on 30 seconds on that one, but either way, we'll see that not too far away. Until then, it's just going to be grabbing some camps, which have already been grabbed across the map, looking to see. Bruiser camps or the Fallen Shamans are going to be a minute away. The Impaler camps are a little too far away as well. So right now, it's just going to be WildHeart trying to find some sort of extra pressure. They've been checking the bush on Varian.
Gonna go for that top fort again, looking to get it this time. Totem to soak some of the shots. It will soak 4 shots, in fact, not bad. Getting another 30% damage on the fort.
And Oxygen, I feel like they've got to do something soon, because if they keep waiting like this, eventually the experience will fall over to WildHeart. They'll have the 16 talent tier, and that should be right around the objective phase. So I feel like Oxygen, they've got to be proactive in this moment here. Unfortunately, when it comes to engage tools, without Dragon Arrow, I feel like it's really hard to engage. Like, we have Dragon Strike, sure, big pretzels, yay, delicious, but where's the CC to set up anything? I feel like it's Dahaka Drag and Emerd and Stormbolt, which haven't really been working out too well yet.
Yep, it's felt very passive from Oxygen, but they're about to try and change that. Stormbolt there misses, Bad Penny does not connect. Good damage from the Dragon Strike there. In comes Endurance, it gets dodged.
Bunker
There
down.
would also be another way to engage if you... Oh, you know what? Level 20, that's where you kind of get an engage. With Nick being able to pick the level 24's wall.
Yeah.
However, with him not going for the electric fence at level 4, I wonder if it's going to be a Twilight Archon game, kind of a permanent siege game, and it does feel like that would be better.
I wonder if that's the direction Nick's going to be heading with this Tassadar, just to kind of continue to build up the damage potential. And Twilight Archon does allow you to sustain that indefinitely, so long as you're getting, well, auto attacks out, much like Wrath Berserker from the Sonya. And 16 talent tiers here for WildHeart, so Oxygen, they try and go for the next best thing, a consolation prize, some siege damage in bottom, a talent tier of their own. But now, with so many showing in bottom lane, you can already see Varian stepping up. WildHeart will confirm a fort in top. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this trade, but I think that Oxygen's committed to just being like, we have to give this.
Yeah, I mean, positionally, they kind of had to play it like this. But now the keep wall is getting threatened.
Yeah.
IBTing's legit face tanking towers while getting a bit of extra damage in there.
He knows he's safe though.
Yeah, like absolutely. They saw at least 2 members on the map. So it's been all WildHeart so far. And Oxygen looks flustered and useless at engaging, and it's different. It's weird. Maybe something went wrong in the draft. They were like, let's go test it out. And then they thought, oh no, we forgot he's bad. And you know, we'll see. I do think Tassadar has a place. Usually it would be like, Tassadar is supposed to be like a artillery range AoE monster. He doesn't kill frontline very well. He really doesn't kill Varian or Blaze very well. But he's supposed to bring in some splash damage where you realize that suddenly the opponent has way more wave clear, way more shrine clear. They haven't really been able to commit to that, as it's still not enough, to be frank.
No, but you're Grubby. Who's
What?
Frank?
Oh god, thanks Dad. To be frank.
I'm so sorry. No, I just took the low-hanging
Not
fruit.
forgiven, but if you cast very well, I'll forgive.
I will do my best. We do have the top lane siege coming in from this Arcane Punisher, Frozen Punisher, excuse me. Hanzo does have a dragon slide on through, but this is looking like the top lane keep to be falling. Dahaka still split pushing in bottom. We have a camp through mid. That's going to be jet propulsion from Blaze, stopped by the force wall of Tassadar. And with the keep gone, that looks like it's enough from WildHeart. They'll back away, and they've got a win condition set up here through top lane. One good team fight. Death timers are long enough. WildHeart can rush through top and take the series.
It's starting to look like Oxygen is forfeiting the first 19 levels and saying, we'll just play off of Twilight Archon. I don't see any other win condition for them. Twilight Archon has a basic attack leading to a reset of the remaining duration of Archon. Like, have we even seen Archons? By the way, I don't remember Archon being used once so far.
I haven't. I honestly can't recall an Archon yet. I really can't.
Yeah.
So
And it kind of makes sense because Archon is not really high impact at level 10. It's more of a like, I just gave myself shield.
Yep.
And now I'm a little safer. It's like a panic button. Black Hole has a wind up and Archon does not. So I generally, as Tassadar, I go for Black Hole to engage, to counter engage, and so on. But I go Archon when I need it. Like, let's say if you're against a Tracer. You never want to be up against a Tracer as Tassadar. But if you are, you go Archon for a shield. Let's see how the fight is going to go here. Note he's not using Archon, like even in a fight like that, right? So it's all going to be down to the level 20 Archon, is what it feels like. Yasuo
split from the team. Gopin misses the drag. Weary Day still chasing in. We have some dragons. Yeah, those are just going to kind of float on above the enemy of WildHeart Esports. 19-19 in levels. Next Punisher will be Mortar Punisher. Now, the big thing I want to talk about here is the side of WildHeart when it comes to structures. They have one fort available, and due to our changes that happened, I'd say at least 6 months or so ago at this point, the wells will be destroyed when the fort falls. You can no longer take down the wells. So the big factor that I'm bringing up here is that WildHeart has a retreat path to mid, a safety zone, a well to tap. On the opposing side of the battleground, Oxygen, they've got to go all the way back to a keep or hearth back to get any sort of lane or objective sustainability. So something to consider here as we're getting ready for our next Punisher. And as I mentioned, Mortar Punisher mid. The weakest of the three, but still, it'll be somewhere in the 18 to 19 minute mark in the game. That bad boy, he's going to be slapping quite hard.
There we have a bit of a Oracle, and I'm looking at it. The Oracle was on the Kansura Imperial camp. Now, of course, Oxygen knows that WildHeart will go for the Bruiser camp, and they're just going to let that happen. That means that there will be quite a nice... Oh, actually, do you delay this? Yeah. No, I don't think you have to delay it, right? We are delaying it. Okay.
20s a piece. Upgrade the Dragon Awakens. There's the Twilight Archon, mixing fire for the healing reduction as well of 30%. You've got the Contagion from the Dahak as well. I feel like I haven't seen a Contagion either. And then Rewind for the Muradin. Also want to note the Burn Notice for the Blaze. You have the basic attack slow and also deal additional damage over a few seconds. And then it can slow up to 25%.
You know you're in trouble when Blaze doesn't feel like he or his team need 50 armor for 3 seconds post-bunker. This, finally, is where Oxygen tries to make their stand. Look at that Twilight Archon in all its dazzling beauty. He's got Executor's Will, he's got the Twilight Archon, non-stop 30 spell armor, non-stop self-shielding, self-healing, splash damage at great range, his auto-attacks deliver Psy Storms. This is the monster. This is Pacific Rim, and Nick is the monster that is supposed to beat the monster of WildHeart, which is Odin. Finally, they make a stand. Finally, they're looking to make their first kill, their second kill actually in this game. They get the Varian. 12-second duration, 2-second refreshment on every auto attack that Tassadar does. They continue. It's very even on the skeletons, but for the first time, Oxygen is going to get the objective.
It is 4v4 at this time, but as you mentioned, yes, it will be that Twilight Archon getting the value. I don't know about you, Grubby, and maybe this is just the skin of Tassadar. Does the Twilight Archon look too small to you? I feel like the model's usually a lot bigger in like the Archon form. It feels smaller than regular Tassadar.
Have you tried zooming into the granular level all the way?
It still looks too small to me. It like usually his model size, like he's bigger than a Dahaka or a Lucio. Just it feels like the model hasn't changed. Anyways, let's continue on the cast because we have the Punisher jumping in. Endurance of Hate from the Mephisto will be coming through, and Ancestor Healing going out onto somebody, if I'm not mistaken. Zergling does get the splash and stays alive right there. Some scatters out from Hanzo, but it's Lucio to fall, Muradin to go down. The Punisher is going to be pushing in through mid. That's a great stun from the Punisher and a follow-up from Hazuabs, and he's going to be able to set up that kill onto the Tychus. 2 for 1, and the Punisher through mid. Does it take down the keep? Absolutely, with the assistance of the wave. Dahaka to clear things out in top. 2% has fallen off of Oxygen Esports. Core and Grubby. Let's take a look and see what happened here. Can you break it down for everyone at home?
Yeah, look at this. This is pretty insane. Look at the Blaze stun. Look at Zergling. There he is. It looks like he has been put in a corner, but he gets enough heals, gets a stun on a bunch of people, gets a big ancestral healing there, and then Muradin shot on the way out. But look at this beautiful play. Dragon Strike combo with Punisher. I don't know if it was planned or he's just fishing with a low cooldown heroic ability, but that may have actually saved the game. I think in a 5 versus 3 there is a chance you go across the map, top open keep, got 25-second death timer left on 2 people, and you try to win the game right there. Yeah, with that kill on Tychus, Oxygen survives. And they also equalized instructors. Legit, they just AFK'd for 19 levels, Bahamut. And then once they have Twilight Archon, they started playing the game.
It is actually kind of wild that they literally are playing like this. I do want to point out 125 stacks for the Tassadar at level 1 out of the 200. 4 stacks for the Master Assassin. Otherwise, any other questing talents like Hanzo's level 1 or Dahaka are going to be finished out. Now, WildHeart looking to push things up through bottom lane with the wave that has arrived.
Drag on Blaze.
That's another, it's mostly a zoning era. We have that Dragon Awakens at level 20. So Hazuabs has no real concern about spamming these arrows. Though Bad Benny's in the bush right behind. Nice check with the Banner of Dalaran from Haben.
Yeah, Banner of Dalaran can be used without cooldown. Well, 1 second cooldown, essentially. With the 25-second cooldown, the half cooldown from the level 20, and then it lasts for 12 seconds. You've got a 13 cooldown for a 12 duration, so you can spam it all the time for vision. Variant 20 is extremely insane. And when you consider that level 20 Ancestral does Splash, the second one anyway, and then you combine that with the Amplified Healing and Spell Power from Dalaran and Glory to the Alliance, Varian and Blaze together offer so much survivability to the whole team.
Endurance of Hate tried right there from Mason Blaze onto Muradin, but it doesn't connect. Bad Benny able to back away. Next objective going to be in the top lane will be that Arcane Punisher. If won by the side of WildHeart Esports, goes straight to the enemy core. Nice Sonic Arrow from Hazuabs connecting right onto Blaze, so he'll get that pinpoint precision and vision. Blaze just backing away. Lucio amping it up. Seems like Yasu and friends, they want to go in. They're going to try into Zergling right here in the mid lane. Zergling pops the Pyromania. Another arrow out from Hanzo. Tickling Zergling a little bit, but here comes that Shrine activating in the top lane. Catapult's dealing significant damage right now. I'm curious. 856 damage into structures, and there's a decent catapult wave in this top, actually. Yeah, those catapults still dealing a lot, but Hazuabs and Nick will be able to clear it out. Here comes the Punisher phase.
Ouch, Oxygen doesn't feel like they have enough time to take the Bruiser, which would be really helpful in equalizing the lane and getting vision and some stray damage put on WildHeart. But that's how pressured they are. They had to deal with the triple catapult, and low.
The fight's just literally taken to the face of Oxygen. Ancestor Healing is just a second too late for Blaze, and that's going to be Varian split as well. Have Oxygen found the W right here, or
don't you
they're going to play? That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, are they going to try and end? And I think they're just going to go objective. Though this objective timing, or grabbing this, letting the Punisher walk in, all that stuff in between, that will give time for Blaze and Varian to respawn.
Wonder if Blaze would have lived if he had 50 armor coming out of bunker for 3 seconds.
I wonder. That's a very good consideration there, Grubby. That's actually, no, I agree with you 100%, yeah.
It is piercing.
Justin says yes.
Giant.
Justin says yes as well. I just literally he just types yes.
Yeah, because Burn Notice is kind of a win more talent, and he may have picked it just because they were winning so hard, but it was all about the Twilight Archon kind of. Yeah. And now Oxygen is suddenly playing, and now you've got this weird auto attack talent that slows and damages, which really doesn't.
Okay,
anyway,
I'm insane. No, I'm insane. Look at the Archon. The Archon model's bigger this time than it was last time. Okay.
No.
I'm serious. Last time he was like the same size as Lucio, and now it's like it's bigger. I swear to God.
Okay, on your screen, but not on mine.
Maybe that's the case, but let's talk about the case in front of our eyes right now, as that's the fight breaking out, the Durance of Hate connecting. We have Bad Benny jumping away as well. Twilight Archon still out and still getting value here. The Punisher jumping in, dealing decent damage, 50-some% left on the Punisher HP, as this is the top lane keep dropping down to 50%. Ivy Tings is going to be having the Commandeer Odin out. Punisher jumps over. Hanzo, does he rip another arrow? He's got 3 seconds left on that, and he's going to be popping that almost immediately, I would assume, as Bad Benny is low, gets the Dwarf toss out, the Punisher being pinged, and the top lane keep does go down. I do want to point out, in bottom lane, there is a camp pushing up as well.
Yep, and it's going to do a lot of damage, actually. It's triple Khazra Impalers and a Catapult to keep us at 60%. Let's see where it's at by the time that Oxygen gets back there to defend. They actually use Brush Stalker, which is going to be on a long cooldown. Oh my god, like, he's still taking a lot of damage on the keep, and he used Brush Stalker for that. So that's going to give confidence for WildHeart. He doesn't have the cooldown reduction from the level 20 Apex Predator, and WildHeart is going to come here. They have 30 seconds to go till Odin. They may be looking to hard force this keep down. It only has 3.4k, so that's like, what, 3 grenades from Tychus?
I'm mostly worried. I'm staring at the minimap on that mid lane wave that's really clumping up on the side of WildHeart. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the catapults, right now the catapults are dealing over 1,000 damage into structures. I don't think you can just let these go. And Oxygen knows this. Oxygen knows that if they stop these backs, the catapults will just end the game for them. I mean, look at the shielding getting shredded.
Yeah, it's getting shredded. This is crazy. And the catapult that spawned happens to shoot the one that looped around the top side of the fort rubble. Mm-hmm. If it had been shooting the bottom one, it would have been splashing all 3. So it's like little things in the layout that I don't think were planned when HoTS was designed, when maps were designed, where what if you have 4 catapults? Does one go via the top of the rubble and 3 via the bottom? And what happens when top catapult spawns and starts attacking? Like, how does that affect balance? There's some asymmetries sometimes, but that's a lot of damage on the core. 44% for WildHeart, just trying to look for something to happen in the bottom fort. And this objective is not allowed to be lost for WildHeart. In front of an open core, Oxygen, they have the healthiest fort. Though, admittedly, Bahamut, wouldn't you say that the level 24 Punisher at this time wins the game?
He doesn't
no
care.
matter?
Yeah, he doesn't care. Because it's level... We're 26 plus minutes into the game when this Frozen Punisher will be grabbed. Absolutely, yeah. I didn't look at the death timer the in-game timer of when the last Punisher dropped, but we shouldn't be far off. Even then, it's still going to be a couple minutes to grab the Punisher, the spawn time, the 30 seconds, all that stuff in between. So we're looking at nearly a 30-minute Punisher up next, and that is absolutely terrifying to me for whomever is able to pick this up.
Yeah, for whomst it goes to. Oxygen sets up a Khazra Impaler Camp bot. It will be joined by one catapult and faced by none at this time, so that may be something that can become a threat. But the Haka is far away from it, so he can't push along with it. And WildHeart sends a defender to the bottom of the map. Who wins this objective? That's what it all comes down to. With a little pin in the option for either team to go all in on the enemy core if things go south. They have a pretty good core racing team. Hanzo, not so much, but Murden and Tassadar are great on the core, and so is Tychus and Rhaegar.
See what happens. Okay, so 25, level 25 to level 24. Archon from Tassadar, and he'll try and sustain that by autoing onto the Banner of Dalaran, but he needs to keep this Archon up. You can see that little purple bar underneath Nick's health bar and everything. Jet Propulsion in from the Blaze. That's going to be Endurance of Hate. Out from the Mephisto, connecting onto Dahaka. He pops the Essence. Bad Benny jumps in. Ancestral Healing as that splash as well, mixing fire from the Lucio. Splash does come through. Force Wall from Tassadar. Bad Benny in a bit of a bad spot. He's able to Dwarf Toss out. Has that armor as well. 26 to 15 in Skeletal Defenders, and those will be changing quite rapidly as we have the Jet Propulsion out from Zergling once again. Hanzo rips a huge arrow through this objective and shreds through a lot of HP as Mephisto goes down. Blaze goes down. Tychus should fall right here. Oxygen, I think they just rolled things back 28 minutes into this Infernal Shrines game. Lucio may fall, but Varian will be picked up as well. Maybe? Haben? Nah, he should be dead right here. Tassadar continuing to push things up through mid, as he does want to keep that Archon form up and available. But that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, looks like a quadra kill, a massive wave, a massive push, and a massive win for Oxygen. They look shaky in maps number 3 and 4 on Dragonshire and Towers of Doom, but here on Infernal Shrines, Grubby called it at the start. AFK till 20, you get Twilight Archon, you win the game. There you go, take that into your own games, win at home. GG, well played. Over to the side of Oxygen Esports, they have put on, I have to say this from both sides, WildHeart and Oxygen put on a beautiful best of 5 series here. This was really, really good games. I'm excited for the next matchup of 30k versus Diamond Hands, but this game right here, this was a showstopper. This was absolutely beautiful Heroes of the Storm play from both sides. Really well played from Oxygen. They held strong. Hey, it's almost Justing. It's almost like, it's just almost like the members of Oxygen, they kind of like held fast and didn't expire.
Yeah, they made like, they made WildHeart into milk and they expired them, and that's what happened at the end of the game. You had them holding on forever, getting the level 20s in for Oxygen. It felt like it was just a waiting game, waiting for the level 20s. And then as soon as the 20s came in, that was Oxygen's moment to expire WildHeart. Well, Oxygen held fast. That was pretty much the overall summary of that game. You had WildHeart just getting every objective basically for free until level 20. And it seemed like Oxygen was okay with that. They were playing around that. They were confident in their level 20s. Something that I do have to point out, that we did point out on the broadcast, is the lack of bunker upgrade for Zergling was very strange. It wasn't a normal thing. I was keeping track of what 20s were going to come through before they even took them, and I had to revise that one because, you know, the assumption is just that you get the bunker upgrade, but that wasn't the case. You had a lot of fights early game, and then it kind of felt like Oxygen realized that they weren't winning a lot of the early game fights. You had like 3 kills instantly before the shrine even spawned, and then after that Oxygen being like, alright, maybe we actually can't fight at all until level 20, so we're going to just go ahead and play with that in mind. So it was good to see Oxygen at least coming up with a strategy after realizing like how the early game was going and how it would continue to go if they continued fighting, and just saying, alright, let's just split push and just try to get value anywhere we can, give the objectives until we get level 20, and then it was all about the Archon. This here, you just barely get the Ancestral off onto Zergling. It was super close. If he doesn't survive here, this is completely different. They get the trade kills that if they don't get, the game just ends here. Oxygen really pushing that level 20. This was the first objective that they really fought for, and they fought for it while WildHeart didn't even... Well, WildHeart had taps, and Oxygen didn't. WildHeart has felt kind of historically at this point, I'd say that it really feels like they crack under the pressure when it gets to these really late game situations. Here you had a situation where WildHeart was controlling the shrine, but Zergling on the Blaze was completely split. It was a massive blunder coming out from him. It leads to the 2 for 0, it leads to the top shrine going over to Oxygen, and then you have this third shrine fight where, again, Zergling a little far forward on the Blaze and just instantly punished. You have the Dragon Pretzel splitting everyone in the backline. You have Nick just auto-attacking away on the Archon, fairly untouched. One high five from Yasu was enough to basically save any attempt to engage on him. And it really feels like WildHeart doesn't have the staying power just mentally in these series. It feels like often when it gets to this late game situation, you have the veterancy of Oxygen coming through. You have players like Bad Benny and HoTS and Nick who've been playing forever, who have been in these situations infinite number of times. There's no nerves, there's no pressure for them. They're kind of in their environment, thriving there. Whereas it feels like, on the other hand, WildHeart, when it really gets to these high pressure situations, tends to crack under the pressure. But the just veterancy of Oxygen not cracking, sticking to their game plan, and winning with their 20 advantage.
It really felt like a moment of valor shines brightest against the backdrop that is despair in some of those moments when you're just behind consistently throughout the game and you're able to then bring it back post-20 with this Twilight Archon. It was huge for the side of Oxygen Esports, and I do believe we have an interview ready to go. I believe it is with HoTS right now, so we can bring HoTS in for our short little interview. HoTS, congratulations on your victory. How you feeling?
Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, the last map was a nail biter, right? But yeah, thankfully we did it. Yeah.
I want to jump in here immediately, and I do want to ask, bluntly, like, what do you feel went wrong on Dragonshire and Towers of Doom? Was it like the Vikings on Towers of Doom? Was it just the chaos of Dragonshire, the team fighting? Can you talk a little bit about those, because you started so strong on Sky Temple and Tomb, and just I want to know what kind of happened into those that third and fourth map.
Yeah. So Towers of Doom, I think, was a pretty strong outdraft the moment they got the Vikings. Actually, Benny called that they might pick Vikings, but we decided against it to ban it. Obviously, like, now in hindsight, that was a terrible mistake, because our draft can't do any. Like, Hanzo is bad into Vikings, Junkrat is bad, Garrosh is bad. Like, Blaze is the only one that can help a little bit, but like, we were completely tied with the hands behind our back, right? We couldn't do anything on that map. I think on Dragonshire, maybe the Lunara and the Kerrigan picks weren't ideal, or maybe if we have Kerrigan, we need a backliner that has a bit more burst. But honestly, I think they just played a bit better on that map. Like, we couldn't get the one-shots through. Maybe Lunara is problematic for that one, but yeah, I think they just had a very good game on Dragonshire, actually.
Well, thank you so much for that insight. Of course, Justin, questions for HoTS.
Yeah, in the last game, you guys basically gave the majority of the objectives to level 20. Was that the plan from the offset, or was that kind of an adaptation once you got into the game and you realized how fights were going to go? I guess just, yeah, how did you plan for that?
Yeah, no, it was more an adaptation in the game. Like, we realized that we can't really get any access into the shrines. And then at level 16, I said, guys, we didn't even click Archon yet, right? So, but we can on 20. Like, on 20, it's gonna stay active. Like, just get us to 20, and then we press Archon, and we just roll, like, as a team as 5. We just go. We keep going. So yeah, I think it didn't quite play out as we planned, like the map. And I think probably they should have won the game, honestly, because they were pretty far ahead, like mid to late game. But we did win every single level 20 fight, right? And that's what mattered, or that was brought us back into the game.
Grubby, questions for HoTS?
You took away all my strategy questions with.
I'm so sorry.
No, everything I wanted to know got answered. So HoTS, great interviewee as usual. Let's talk about the rest of the tournament. You've now made it into the winter finals. Top 3 guaranteed. Ambitions stated, or gunning hard for number 1?
No, we're gunning for the grand final, and then match to match basically. But grand final is what we really want to achieve, and then obviously we want to win, right? Once we're there, but we take it step by step. I have to say it was very hard for us to predict how strong WildHeart is. Because we didn't really get to scrim much before the playoffs, honestly, and yeah, they are like a dark horse, honestly, and we struggled against them already in the regular season. So I'm very relieved that we managed to win here, and then let's see how it goes tomorrow. And we booked our spot for Sunday, right? Like we're gonna be. Yeah. At least I think so.
I do have one more question before we get to shoutouts and all that good stuff. Up next is 30K versus Diamond Hands. Tomorrow you will face the victor of that matchup. Who do you want to face tomorrow?
Yeah, I think 30K would be stronger, right, to play against. So I choose Diamond Hands, but honestly, I think both teams are very strong. And there's one thing. Diamond Hands, they have a European player, right, Ruzzo, but he's actually over in an A. So they're gonna have technically 5 NA players as well, which is really cool. I'm super hyped to see them play, actually.
I've been seeing on Twitter that Retso is he traveled to the United States. He's been having some food and hanging out here. So I'm really excited to see him play on low ping. It's going to be very exciting. That will be our next best of 5. But of course, Hazuabs, before you skedaddle out of here, watch the next matchup and cheer on with your crew. Any shouts that you'd like to give, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, shout out to my team, shout out to Cascon for preparing the drafts once again. Shout out to you guys, to Twitch chat, of course, and yeah, I will see you tomorrow again, at least in the games, maybe in the interview as well, who knows.
Oh, well, we'll cross our fingers for you, but of course we'll stay neutral as casters. Good luck in your preparation, and thank you again for joining us for this post-game interview.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Alrighty, with that is our first best of 5 of the day wrapped up, and I have to say, that was fantastic. If you're joining us late, if you missed some of the maps, I highly encourage you to check the VODs after the stream today to watch those back. I will do my best to get them up onto YouTube immediately, or you can catch them here on Twitch, or even on Grubby's Twitch as well, so make sure you you check out those VODs, because seriously, like Grubby, that first best of 5 of the day was awesome. Like, that's my takeaway. Like, the first best of 5 of the day was really, really good here for our playoffs.
Yeah, we knew it's going to be close, right? They were 5-2 and 4-3 in the regular season, with the 4-3 team beating the 5-2 in the regular. So, like, it couldn't be any closer. And 5 maps is exactly what everyone deserved and what we got. It went WWLLW, almost the reverse sweep, but not quite, with the level 20 Tassadar Gambit play. Exciting games. The next one should be more obvious in theory, but if Diamond Hands were able to upstage 30k, that would be the story to talk about today. So you don't want to miss the chance of potentially seeing that.
No, you don't want to miss that either. But of course, Justin, takeaways from the first best of 5 of the day.
I think I successfully jinxed both the turning points of the series by calling it wrong and then having them, do the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. So the teams are unpredictable. I think Oxygen just kind of being pretty solid overall, but not doing anything super crazy that we haven't seen yet. WildHeart bringing out some weird stuff with the Vikings, I think, is fun to see. And I'm just excited to see kind of how everything progresses and see how the strategies change, because we had a month off. Seeing the next series is going to be really cool to see whether these teams are drafting the same as the next teams. That's the thing that I'm most excited to see, is just the play styles of all the teams and how they differ.
The draft theory is going to be very exciting in the next best of 5. As I mentioned, it will be 30k versus Diamond Hands. But of course, we always have like a little break between these series. And I need to remind you to you all that it's up to you to get the best picks while you're watching the winning. Excuse me. It's up to you to get the best picks for the winning team as you're watching live. I tried to change it up a little bit. Nah, we're gonna go with the sponsor here. CCLmarkets.com. It's free. If you pick wrong, you can sell your shares and buy the other team before the match is over. CCL Markets trade from 0 to 100, with shares of the winning team valuing at 100 and shares of the losing team expiring at 0. There's tons of prizes this season, Justin, so join and play during every HeroesCCL broadcast. Thank you again, Ball Street, for partnering with HeroesCCL for Season 4. But as we mentioned, we are going to get ready for 30k versus Diamond Hands. In that time, we of course brought our amazing, the beautiful, everyone's favorite Kyle Ferguson, and he's going to be sitting down with Hebby from Diamond Hands to discuss this matchup. Now, at the time, you might be a little confused by some of the conversation topics, because this interview was done a little bit in advance, and it was before the games were swapped today. So you'll get a little bit of Hebby's thoughts here, as he was thinking that he had already played. So we'll be back with more HeroesCCL in just a few minutes. Enjoy the interview with Kyle Ferguson, and until then, I've been Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justin. We'll see you for that next best of 5. Don't go anywhere.